Why go to school? There's no chance to train the body there. The girl asked again, why do you keep training all the time? He shrugged his shoulders and gave a simple answer, I want to become a stranger, that's it. The class president tilted his head slightly and asked, why do you want to become a stranger? He blushed and said, so that I can win fights and face big opponents. Currently, my body is very weak. That's why everything feels harder. After that, he went on an excited rant. Without taking a breath, he started explaining his training and fighting philosophy. He kept talking for hours, and the girl just had to listen to his non-stop nonsense. By the time the sun began to set, she still hadn't managed to convince him to return to school. But then an idea clicked in his mind. Casually, as if it were nothing big. He said, what's the point of training so hard when there's no one to fight? His mouth dropped in shock. The girl stood up and as she left said, come to school. Meet people and start conflicts. Then you'll get many people to fight with. Having said that, she left and he sat there stunned and began to think. His reasoning slightly impressed Muck. Indeed, after what he did with those bullies, they will never come to him again, and without them, he will have to find some stranger opponent. For the first time, Muck seriously thought about going to school. Just as he was thinking, a shadowy figure appeared behind him and asked, are you Muck? The man was wearing a mask and holding a weapon. Muck didn't feel it was necessary to answer. He had already understood what it was. His shocked expression immediately turned into a relaxed one. Everything was becoming easier than he had thought. Now he didn't even need to find the next opponent. He had come on his own. With a slight smirk, the figure turned its head around. He prepared himself for the inevitable first strike and fight. It was obvious that the masked boy was none other than Kang. There was something about Kang that set him apart from the others. Even the bullies he had faced years ago, when he was just 15 and slowly starting to shine in boxing, remembered him. Kang's sister was becoming a promising ballet dancer with a determined demeanor. She was his only family. Kang supported her in every possible way. Mentally, emotionally, and in every way he could help. Everything was going perfectly. Until one day a stalker caught sight of Kang's sister. The man's obsession gradually increased until he lost complete control and went over the edge. He silently followed her, and as soon as she turned into a quiet alley, the stalker thought this was the perfect opportunity to fulfill his sick intentions. But fortunately, Kang was nearby. He quickly noticed the situation before the stalker could harm his sister. Kang suddenly jumped in and launched a surprise attack, stopping the stalker right there. No harm was done. The police were called and the stalker was arrested. But because Kang had stepped in at the right time and the stalker had not done anything illegal, there was insufficient evidence to impose the proper punishment. The man was released after a short time. But now his obsession had reached a dangerous peak. She had turned into madness that also included the fire of revenge. It didn't take long. That creepy man found the girl again, this time in another desolate place. But now he also had a kitchen knife, which made it clear that this time his intent was even more dangerous. But Kang suddenly arrived again as if he had appeared from nowhere. And he prevented that crime from happening once more. But this time he wasn't as fast. His sister's leg was badly injured, and her dream of becoming a ballerina shattered like a broken song. Kang blamed the law for not being able to protect his sister, and that day he decided that he would no longer trust the law. Instead, he decided that from now on he would do whatever he felt was right. His first step almost killed that man. But that was just the beginning. Kang had resolved that from now on, whenever he saw any suspicious gang or any such person who was harming others without reason or was a bully, he would step in, not with warning words, but with his new favorite weapon, action. Kang had become an anti-bully vigilante who saw fighting as justice, not as violence, and this was why he went back to the present. Mew was standing there. He took Kang's sudden punch without any resistance. He had been struck from behind with a punch that would have knocked anyone else out instantly. But Mew immediately sensed that it was just a light punch. It wasn't the powerful strike he was used to. After witnessing the first strike, Mew fell into thought. Was Kang just testing his reflexes, or was it just a warning? Whoever it was, Mew didn't care. He only needed confirmation to start the fight, and now he had received it. Just as always, Mew wasn't upset or regretful about this fight. Instead, he was excited, but he had no idea this encounter wouldn't be as easy as before. On the other hand, Kang also didn't start the fight immediately. He hesitated. He was surprised that Mew didn't look like the type of person to beat people up as he had been told. Kang had no idea that all this was a lie that Choyal had told to impress him. But Mew neither had to defend himself nor explain anything. He casually ignored Kang's words and said, "Don't waste time in small talk, show me by doing something." Just this statement hurt Kang's ego, and he placed even more trust in Choyal's story. Now he was completely convinced that Mew was really as crazy as he was. As much as he used to listen, Kang did exactly what Mew wanted. He moved forward quickly. Without wasting any time, he began to hit him. But Mew was ready as if he were a pro boxer. Kang threw punches one after another. But the surprising thing was that Mew easily dodged each punch. The more he kept dodging, the more his confidence grew. Kang now realized that this opponent wasn't just putting on a show. And he truly knows how to fight. So Kang decided to take his game to the next level. He threw a light right punch to block Mew's vision. And he could create an opening for a strike. But Kang was shocked to find out that Mew had already anticipated this move. And he also blocked it. This was just a warm-up for Kang. It seemed as if he had found the perfect target for his punching practice. Now he started raining punches again. But this time, Mew clearly felt that these punches had far more power than before. As expected from a champion boxer, Kang kept non-stop pressure using his experience and skills. Mew didn't get even a second of relief. Each punch was so intense it kept pushing Mew back. Mew was cornered. Now he had nowhere to escape. Kang kept targeting his weak spots, which made it almost impossible for Mew to focus during the fight. Then came the moment when Kang got a proper opening, and he landed a bone-crushing punch on Mew's side. The pain was like someone repeatedly delivering a hard kick to the same spot. Kang moved back slightly so Mew could contend with that sharp pain. But as he was leaving, he coldly said, "I am intentionally hitting your weak and injured spots. Because in my eyes, unworthy people don't deserve mercy." But instead of being afraid or angry, Mew, who was in pain, suddenly started laughing. His laughter confused Kang for a moment. But then those words pierced deep into Kang's heart. He couldn't believe that Mew would react this way. And this very thing made Kang even more furious. Now Kang became even more ruthless than before. On the other hand, Mew clearly understood now the huge gap between Kang's strength and his own power. It was painfully clear that this guy was on a completely different level. Mew knew that with Lee's guidance, he couldn't defeat Kang in raw power. But for a person who is a fighting fanatic, giving up is not even an option. Accepting defeat was never in his nature. He was facing an opponent who was not fighting fairly. Mew realized that he would also have to play by the same rules. He just had to stay focused, remain alert, and wait for the right opening. Mew, who had thousands of years of battle experience, immediately recalled an old fight that was quite similar to his current situation. It was one of those rare one-in-a-million fights. Mouth had almost been overpowered. Even at that time when the pain was innumerable, Mouth never regretted fighting. He felt a strange kind of satisfaction in that thrill. But then it was not just about enjoying or enduring the pain. Mouth wanted to win that fight at any cost. So he forced himself to stay quiet, shutting all his emotions for a moment. The mocking laughter on his face vanished, and he began analyzing his opponent's movements carefully. As soon as another punch was coming towards his face, Mouth moved. He used his dirty, torn locks to distract Kang slightly and created a small opening for himself. The more Mouth thought and used his tiny bird-sized brain, the smarter and more dangerous he became. At that time, he used that opening and hit the joint monster directly several times. But disappointingly, his attacks had no real effect. That thing was in a completely different league for him. Yet Mouth didn't stop. He kept his emotions in control and continuously searched for such openings and kept fighting. In the end, he lost, but somehow he survived, and even in that painful defeat, he felt that thrill. He slipped out of that fight. The current situation wasn't any different. Mouth decided to adopt that same strategy again. Stop the emotions, fight with the brain. And even if this strategy fails, at least he can still enjoy the fun of hitting. His first move was to switch off his emotions and put on a dull expression. He didn't know how Lee's face would look while suppressing emotions. He just improvised on his own. Seeing his new expression and the next face made Kang even more irritated. He felt that Mouth was making a mockery of him. And Kang's anger reached its peak. Now Kang has decided that he will end this fight only with pure raw power. His face acted as if he had no idea what was about to happen to him. As if he were just joking. As soon as Kang advanced and started showering punches, Mouth retreated backward, dodging as much as possible. It didn't take much time and the back of Mouth hit a tree. Then he realized that now the tactic had to be changed. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind. He pressed his foot into the ground and with a quick motion, flung dirt toward Kang's face. A little dirt reached Kang's face. But he was wearing protective glasses and quickly shielded his face with his hands. He didn't sustain much damage. Rather, Kang's suspicion was now confirmed. He became fully convinced that Mouth is a criminal. He thought Mouth delivers a beating. Suddenly, Mouth lowered his head, which made Kang hesitate for a moment. But it was all acting. Mouth teased him with a slight smirk. Did he stop out of fear? This struck directly at Kang's heart and his anger rose to the sky. Now Kang didn't need any other motivation. He launched another swift attack without hesitation. But this time Mouth was ready. With his foolish-looking face, he easily dodged the punch. Kang was not going to let him go so easily. With a sudden move, he got behind Mouth in order to attack from the blind spot. But once again, Mouth dodged that attack. However, this time Kang's punch grazed Mouth a bit, resulting in slight damage. But Mouth didn't care because now it was fully convinced that its plan was working. Kang was no longer as focused as before, and Mouth quickly noticed the biggest difference between Kang and his first two opponents. Kang's fighting style was quite aggressive, completely the opposite of Mouth's earlier defensive opponents. In Mouth's view, ground, in addition to skill and ability, was also a major reason for this difference. And that is what explains it. Why did Mouth throw the soil first? The real purpose was not to hit Kang's face, but to spread dirt and small stones on the ground. This created many small obstacles on the ground. It made it difficult for Kang to move freely. Kang's aggressive style and Mouth's mocking behavior combined, making his movements predictable. And Mouth could now block Kang's attacks even with less effort. Everything was gradually being set according to Mouth's plan. Earlier, Mouth was struggling, getting hit repeatedly, but now he started to dodge Kang's attacks again. Dodging was not his main goal. He was forcing Kang to move around a lot, causing his balance to be lost, and the moment would be his. Mouth knew that if Kang stepped on those stones and mud, his grip would slip and the moment would be his. And that's exactly what happened. Kang's foot landed on a small stone. His focus broke and Mouth got the perfect opening. Without wasting any time, Mouth went into action. He knew he couldn't miss this chance. He targeted a vital spot, but in the air he realized his arm wasn't responding properly. It was probably due to all those blocked punches. Nevertheless, he didn't give up and instead of a punch, he attacked with an elbow. And that elbow strike was so powerful that Kang's glasses shattered, and he froze in shock right there. This moment was a jackpot for Mouth, and obviously so. He did not let go of this chance. Manhwa started making fun of Kang again. He kept insulting, laughing, and began mocking his condition. But that's where Manhwa made a mistake. He was so focused on planning his next move and provoking Kang that he forgot to observe that moment. Kang used his weapon and badly crushed Manhwa's leg. In a short while, Manhwa felt the pain that was completely unbearable. He fell on his knees as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. Now Kang was standing there. With the weapon on his shoulder and a cold smile, he said, "What happened?" The laughter stopped. The joy vanished. Kang was already fed up with Manhwa. No one had ever irritated him this much. He had become so angry that he decided he would break Manhwa's jaw to ensure he could never laugh again. Manhwa was still on his knees. He was unable to move at all. He could neither dodge nor escape. A realization came to Manhwa a moment before the punch fell. He had given up. He closed his eyes. He prepared himself for the hit, and his thoughts began to drift. Will he taste defeat again after about 4,000 years? And Kang was ready to make him taste this bitter moment again. But at that exact moment when Kang's punch was about to crush his head, time seemed to freeze. Something stone-like suddenly flew through the air and struck Kang's face directly. The impact was so sudden that Kang lost his balance and staggered backward. The object rolled toward the trees and disappeared. Whatever it was, it halted Kang's attack and saved Manhwa's life. Now Kang was already thoroughly distracted. He immediately started looking around to see who had thrown this thing. At that moment, a faint, weak-sounding voice was heard. Master, and she was slowly coming closer. Kang's instincts immediately went on alert. A man who always hunted bullies while staying in the shadows. He didn't want anyone to see his face. Without wasting time, Kang picked up his sweatshirt. He put it on, and as soon as he pulled the hood over his head, he quickly vanished. Before anyone could see him. As soon as Kang ran away, a small creature emerged from behind. It looked like a monster and in a trembling voice spoke. The master stared at it in amazement. It was a small lizard-like creature with horns on its head. It was not a stranger to Mouth. He knew that he once transformed that little lizard into a majestic dragon and then made it his assistant. Even though its form was now quite different, Mouth recognized it immediately. Mouth and the little dragonling arrived back at Lee's house. As soon as they settled there, the dragonling began explaining everything about its current situation to Lee. He described what is happening in the God's realm, and how he himself arrived on Earth in this body. He explained that after losing to Lucifer, Lucifer captured Mouth's true godly body and trapped it in a barrier that could neither be broken nor crossed. That barrier separated time and space, preventing Mouth's soul from returning to its body and ensuring that no one could interfere with Lucifer's plans. Lucifer took Mouth's body into his domain and began watching over it. Lucifer always wore a satisfied smile because he knew that Mouth could not do much without his body. But there was a problem. Lucifer could not directly come to Earth and destroy Mouth. He only knew one way, to convince Drago to tell him how to reach the planet Earth, i.e. Mouth. For this, Lucifer summoned the fallen dragon into his domain and promised that if it helped him, it would become the new god of Earth, taking Mouth's place. Lucifer was convinced that, in the greed for such great power, Mouth's assistant would betray him. But Drago did not give any direct answer. He said something so slowly that Lucifer didn't even hear it. In anger, Lucifer shouted, "Speak loudly." Finally, Drago spoke, but instead of answering, he pointed to the barrier encircling Mouth's body and asked whether this barrier blocks time and space. It can also stop attacks. Lucifer thought that maybe Drago was trying to save himself. So he confidently said that no attack could harm this barrier, it was invincible. He offered to give everything up and join his side, but then something strange happened. Lucifer noticed the surrounding area gradually glowing. Filled with suspicion, he looked around, and the sight that appeared froze him completely. Drago's injured body was glowing with golden light, and crackling energy sparked from it. Lucifer was initially shocked, but the shock soon turned into fear. When Drago suddenly screamed, a massive self-explosion erupted. Before Lucifer could act, the roof of his castle flew off. The place he used to control his domain was utterly destroyed. The very next moment, his entire castle vanished as if wiped away by a nuclear blast. The most shocking thing was that the explosion was so huge that an entire part of the god's realm turned to ash. Drago used 99% of his total power in that explosion, and as a result, he reverted into a small, weak lizard. He was completely covered in dust and smoke. He knew that now he wasn't safe anywhere, so he had only one option: to return to the ground near his master, Mouth. But Lucifer wouldn't let him escape that easily. Enraged and burning with the fire of vitriol, Lucifer emerged from the dust and chased Drago. He was so angry that he seemed ready to turn the little lizard into stew. Drago escaped, saving his life. However, Lucifer summoned a magical spear and threw it at him with all his might. Now the little dragonling had lost part of its tail and was only a few meters away from Mouth's throne and the Earth's gateway. Still, the magical spear missed, and Drago leapt first onto Mouth's throne and then onto the surface of the miniature Earth. Vanishing from the god's realm, he appeared in the sky above Earth. Depleted of all energy, he didn't care where or how he would land. He simply closed his eyes, left everything to fate, and fate chose for him. Mouth's savior was about to become a savior again. The object that had impacted Kang's face and prevented him from delivering the final blow was none other than the exhausted tiny lizard. After hearing all this, Mouth fell into deep thought. Little Drago felt a bit worried that something might have gone wrong. But Mouth wasn't sad, he was furious. His hatred for Lucifer was so intense that if he ever got his true body back, he wouldn't let Lucifer live even a second longer. Suddenly, Mouth's expression changed from anger to excitement. He thought that maybe now he might finally get another chance to fight Lucifer. A proper all-out battle. The little assistant was a bit shocked because, even after many years, he hadn't yet adjusted to Mouth's sudden shifts in energy and emotions. Mouth immediately jumped off Lee's bed. He was buzzing with excitement. He had found a new purpose. But deep inside, he knew the danger. With this body, he wouldn't be able to stand up to Lucifer. So now there was only one way: to strengthen Lee's body. But Lee's body was so weak and damaged. Even throwing a light punch in the air felt like everything was breaking apart. The only wish came from Mouth. If only this new body could heal quickly. At that moment it came to his mind, he had set it to Dragon Ling. He had to search for a magical orb for Mouth. Mouth asked helplessly, "Did you bring that orb?" Surprisingly, Dragon Ling said yes. Or at least claimed to have it. He had neither a pocket nor a bag. He had hidden that orb inside his belly. Now, in response to Mouth's request, he began slowly taking it out. But the orb was even bigger than that lizard. Mouth's assistant was having some trouble delivering it to him. At last, he finally managed to take it out completely. Dragon Ling explained that it is a dragon bloodstone. It is infused with a one-time healing spell. The little lizard apologized. Not that he could only bring one. He said he was green and obviously couldn't carry more. Mouth did not even wait for his assistant's sweat to dry and immediately picked it up to examine it closely. As soon as Mouth took it in his hand, he thanked Dragon Ling and said that for now this orb is enough. Without any hesitation, Mouth activated the orb, which immediately triggered its healing effect, and at that moment the orb began to shrink. Just a few seconds later, a green aura spread all around Mouth's body. It was emanating from the orb, and his wounds began to heal instantly. But the real fun began then. When Mouth noticed something surprising, the orb's effect was not limited to just healing. He felt that his muscles had become more responsive and sensitive than before. There can be only one explanation for this. This orb was probably also infused with a body enhancement spell that was visibly improving Lei's weak body. Seeing Mouth's impressed reaction, Dragon Ling proudly admitted that he had done the work himself and had infused his magic into a dragon bloodstone. Mouth stared at the remaining part of the orb, appreciating it, thinking that perhaps because it was used on a weak human body. Its full power was not consumed, and for that reason this fragment was left behind. He gave that fragment to the smaller lizard, allowing him to use it himself. But Dragon Ling didn't like to waste it on himself, so he decided that he would save it for future emergencies for Mouth's sake. She carefully pushed it back into its resting place, just as before. The scene suddenly shifts. On the other side of the city, there was a rare yellow lizard. It turned out to be the favorite pet of the girl we had seen earlier. She didn't look at it merely as an animal, but regarded it as her closest friend. She often wished the pet could speak so she would never be bored. After some playful antics, the girl put her pet back into its cozy home and walked out. Perhaps because she had to go to school, where pets weren't allowed. She had to leave it behind so it could enjoy its own time. Peace returned to the house once more. That day, everything was normal in school as well. No one was ruling over anyone. No one was causing trouble. Even the bully who had been beaten before was present. He was now sitting peacefully at his desk. He now wears glasses. He was also completely focusing on his studies. The pain he felt after being beaten in the mouth showed him the right path. Now he was not wasting time but preparing for exams. He was determined to change his life. Everything was going smoothly, until Mouth made an entry into the classroom in his usual dramatic style. As soon as he entered, his eyes fell on the beaten-up boy, and without any hesitation he asked, "Ready for a fight?" What? It wasn't clear whether Mouth was joking or serious. But before the answer came, the president girl appeared from behind, acting as if she were surprised to see Lee, who had returned to school after a long absence. His shirt contained a small lizard spinning inside, causing mild commotion. He casually said that he had come here just for that. As soon as he entered, his eyes fell on the beaten-up boy, and without any hesitation he asked, "Ready for a fight?" What? It wasn't clear whether Mouth was joking or serious. But before the answer came, the president girl appeared from behind, acting as if she were surprised to see Lee, who had returned to school after a long absence. A small lizard was spinning inside his shirt, causing a slight commotion. He casually said that he had only come for that reason. He had already convinced him before. And yes, he also said that his main purpose for coming here is just to find someone to fight, so that he can fight and beat them to death. His expression and tone were so intimidating that the girl started wondering who this time would be the new chaos creator. But because there was no immediate danger in sight, he just told her good luck. Half a day passed without anything interesting happening that could make the day fun. Two students on the floor below his classroom were talking about recent school incidents. The two people were Kang and a girl from his class. Because it was Kang's school, usually he didn't know anything about the school. The girl started explaining everything to him in detail. She was a bit in a gossiping mood, and he was listening with mild curiosity. Trying to connect the dots, as soon as school ended, both started walking outside, and the girl kept excitedly telling all the details. According to rumors, the nerdy boy who was always bullied one day turned around and beat up his tormentor badly. He beat the bully so badly that he fainted and had to be taken to the hospital. If that wasn't shocking enough, listen, the nerd even bit off his ear. And from that day on, he got the nickname Nudart. Kang initially had no idea that he was talking about Lee. But as he kept describing the incident and mentioning Hyung's repeated dear and Moon's suspicious behavior, Kang understood everything. Now all the pieces had fallen into place. The nerdy boy and Lei were the same person. Kang suddenly recalled Hyung's crocodile tears and his act of playing the victim. It was all a manipulation so that Kang could get revenge on him. But because all this was about the past, nothing could be done now. Kang thought that for now it would be better to let it go. On his way back home, Kang had no idea that Moon was also coming the same way. Meanwhile, Moon was disappointed and frustrated about how his day turned out so boring. In school, everyone was either busy writing in their notebook or on their phone, and there wasn't a single chance for a fight. At that moment, Moon was about to sink into almost hopelessness when his gaze fell on Kang. Kang was walking awkwardly. He was visibly embarrassed, talking with his female friend because Kang was wearing glasses and a mask. Moon didn't instantly recognize him. But something felt familiar. The color of his hair, height, texture, everything was the same. But the real doubt arose when Moon saw the size and shape of his muscles. In just a second, Moon became completely certain. This is it, and he shouted loudly. He is the guy from yesterday. Moon's loud voice and sudden outburst obviously caught Kang's attention. As soon as Kang turned his head back, he saw Moon running towards him crazily. Kang immediately started running without wasting even a second, leaving his shocked friend behind. While running, only one question was swirling in his mind. How did Moon recognize me? He was certain that his expensive mask and glasses were sufficient to hide him. He wondered why Moon could recognize him so easily. He had no answer, but one thing was clear. He had no idea what to do next. The last thing he wanted was for this crazy guy to report him to the police or cause another disaster. Desperate to escape, Kang ran off. Kang suddenly decided to make an unpredictable move. He saw an alley ahead and without any hesitation, he jumped straight into it, hoping to leave Ma behind. Ma did not stop chasing him. He was completely determined that Kang could not escape so easily. But as soon as he entered the alley, Kang was already gone from there. It seemed as if he had flown into the air. Ma was certainly waiting for this perfect opportunity to fight with Kang. But all his hopes shattered when he realized that Kang had truly disappeared. At that moment, Dragon Ling emerged from the shadows and asked whether he was the same boy who challenged my lord yesterday. Wanting to help his god, the little lizard sniffed Kang and asked for permission to locate him because Kang had killed him yesterday, and his strong male scent was still fresh in his memory. Ma gave him the green light, and Dragon Ling began sniffing like a curious puppy. He was fully immersed in his new role when suddenly someone appeared in front of him, blocking his path. Fortunately, he wasn't trampled. The little lizard lifted his head and saw that it was Kang, but a girl standing in front, the class president of her class. She stood there bewildered, staring at him with wide eyes, but her fascination didn't last long. Soon excitement filled her eyes, as if she had seen something so adorable for the first time in her life. Dragon Ling didn't even know who this girl was. He also didn't know that, unlike other humans, this girl was deeply in love with lizards. He forgot that he was a demigod, and humans aren't allowed to see him. He casually told the girl, "Get aside. I need to complete my task." But things didn't go his way. The girl completely ignored his words and lifted him up as if he were a stuffed toy. Dragon Ling was totally shocked and started struggling to get out of her grip. Enraged, he screamed at her and gave a warning in anger. "I am not some creature you can be impolite to." For a moment, he wished that if only a little bit of magic remained with him, he could escape. Dragon Ling considered this girl a nuisance. But for the girl, it was the most fascinating thing. Despite his strange and unique look, the girl kept watching him and thought how cute he was. She even began to think that he was cuter than she was. She cherished her own belly, which she had loved the most up to now. Then Dragon Ling saw an opening and instantly fled, hiding behind her. While hiding behind Kim's body, it quickly apologized, saying it failed because of the girl and blamed that all its powers were exhausted. Dragon Ling still muttered something before the girl came forward with a serious expression. An expression that Dragon Ling found absolutely terrifying. He asked, "Is this little creature your friend?" Ma took a glance at his visibly shaking assistant and after a moment's thought said, "Friend, make no noise, but yes, this is my obedient assistant." The girl introduced herself as Kim Yujin. The jealousy on her face was clearly visible. Ma had a cute talking assistant who was also a lizard. Ma clearly saw his emotions. And then an idea came to his mind. In a sudden and unexpected move, Ma moved his leg, to which Dragon Ling was attached. He moved closer to Kim and said, "If you want, I can give this to you for a while. In return, I only need a little information." Pure Dragon Ling's opinion had no value for Mun. And Kim was already happy with this offer. In return for giving information, she received this cute little lizard. What better deal could there be for her than this? Mun didn't wait at all. She leaned down and grabbed the dragon's neck. And she moved the dragon toward Kim. "Here, keep it as long as you want. But in return, you will have to help me a bit." Kim was so mesmerized that she said yes without asking anything. He did not think that he was looking for a criminal or a good person, and this was the Mun he wanted. He acted completely casually, as if he didn't care about his assistant at all. He threw the dragon into the air. The dragon spun in the air. It fell straight onto Kim's head. He thought to himself how the Lord had thrown him like that. It felt as if I were nothing. Mun didn't waste time, and he left without saying anything. He just spoke from behind. "Stay with Kim, come back on your own later." Still in shock, Dragon Ling tried to ask, "Master, where are you going without me?" But Mun ignored him completely. as if he had found a new adventure. After some time, Kim and Dragon Ling arrived at his house, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Kim was thinking perhaps the dragon was angry with her to forcibly bring him here. In truth, Dragon Ling was not thrilled with this situation, but he could not ignore his master's orders. He took a deep breath and gave his introduction. A moment later, he extended his small hand. In a slightly professional tone, he said to Kim, "According to the master's orders, from now on, you will actively cooperate with me." Kim felt a bit stunned, such a tiny lizard was giving her commands. But her attitude and the thought that she could now do whatever she wanted to him. Her heartbeat quickened. To avoid appearing rude, he placed his fingers on her small hand and gave a gentle shake to show respect. As soon as he shook hands, he asked, "By your master, are you talking about Lee?" Dragon Ling said nothing, but his silence confirmed Kim's statement. Taking it as a silent yes, Kim nodded and said, "Okay. If this is what you want, I'm ready to cooperate." Then with a confident smile, she proudly gave her introduction. "By the way, I am the president of my class." Dragon Ling blinked his eyes in confusion. What is a president? He tilted his small head and asked. Kim chuckled at his confused expression and said, "It means that I am the leader of my class. And not just that, I am the first in my entire grade." Hearing this, Dragon Ling's eyes popped out. "Oh, so this is why my master has chosen this girl. Because she is an important person." But at that moment, another realization struck his mind like lightning. If this girl is the leader of her class, so that means Lord Lai is the leader. Not at all. Dragon Ling, full of curiosity, immediately spoke up. "Wait, what does this mean? That Lord Lai is not the leader of your class?" Kim was immersed in thought for a short while. Then Lord Lai said that he wouldn't even be counted among the average students of our class. Honestly, he's the lowest at everything. Dragon Ling froze completely. He just stood there. He was trying to process that shocking information. As soon as the assistant understood what Kim was talking about, he shouted in disbelief. Kim thought the small lizard was talking about the mouth, and this matter was not digestible at all for her. Frustrated and nervous, without mentioning the mouth, the small lizard shouted, "My master is the most powerful being in the entire world. More powerful than any gods." He then returned to his old intimidating dragon-like manner and started commanding Kim. "You will have to give your entire life so that my master can become even stronger, so that they can take their revenge," he said. Kim was highly impressed by his words. Kim thought this small lizard was very imaginative and sweet. Amused, Kim nodded to agree to help. "But with a condition: if you need my help, you have to come and meet me often," Drago Link said in a playful tone. Drago Link thought for a while and then gladly agreed. Besides, he had already planned to use Kim to gather information, and now this was his perfect excuse to meet her repeatedly. Then the two of them together sealed a deal. Having sacrificed his life many times for his lord, that small servant was now fully prepared with determination. He aimed to make his master the strongest once again. Meanwhile, Mu was also training intensely with full dedication. Now he was no longer struggling with basic exercises like before. Instead, his movements were effortlessly powerful. When the sun began to set, Mu finally decided that today's training was sufficient. He jumped down from that place and looked at his body, visibly satisfied. Now his body was much stronger than before. Recovery was also happening very fast. In excitement, he threw a punch. But this time it was not in the air, but on a nearby iron rod. Surprisingly, neither his bone broke nor did he feel any pain. For a second, he became very happy with himself. But then at that same moment, his smile faded. He remembered that he had also come here to look for Kong. Now the day was almost over, so he thought that in the next few days there would be a better chance to meet Kong at school. With that thought, he left from there. As soon as Mo went into the streets, the smell of sweat coming from his body spread into the air. He was lucky that no one was around, otherwise that stink would have made someone vomit. But as soon as he reached Kim's neighborhood, his odor had become so strong that it reached Dragon Ling's sharp senses. Dragon Ling, a small lizard, was gathering information about Earth with Kim's help and his PC. He froze instantly upon smelling that odor. Without wasting a second, he dove down, thanked the girl for the piece, and left. Now he was behaving like an excited puppy. Jumping from rooftop to rooftop and across walls, he kept following that familiar scent and reached Mouth within a short time. With a final leap, he landed on Mouth's shoulder, perfectly balanced. Mouth was a bit surprised, but Dragon Ling proudly announced that it had completed its mission. Neither of them realized that someone was being brutally beaten in a nearby alley. Excited, Dragon Ling was telling Mouth about his new royal assistant, who had now also sworn loyalty to Mouth. But that excitement distracted Mouth, and he couldn't see what was happening around him. As soon as the two moved forward, Dragon Ling's sharp nose became alert again. He caught a familiar scent. It was Ma, the same boy he had been chasing earlier. Kang was beating someone in the shadows just like Batman. But this time the thief was neither a bully nor a thug. He was a thief who had stolen someone's bicycle. Instead of apologizing, the thief threatened Kang, saying that if Kang didn't let him go, he would send someone to teach Kang a lesson. But this very statement proved to Kang that he had caught the right person. And he started attacking even more fiercely. Kang was completely focused, and he had no idea that someone behind him was watching, and seeing him got thrilled again. But this moment didn't last long. Kang felt danger and immediately turned around. There stood the same strange-looking man, Muck, who had already lost in the previous encounter. But still, he didn't stop chasing Kang. Everything suddenly intensified. Only the little lizard looked in another direction, and Muck insisted that they were going the wrong way. Repeating the same, he kept pointing in another direction, insisting they should go there. But as usual, Muck ignored the words of his loyal companion and focused entirely on the human he was looking for. As soon as Muck and Kang's eyes met, a strange tension spread between them. Muck's eyes showed determination, while Kang looked slightly unsure of what to do. Muck slowly started taking steps. Each step was well thought out and steady. Kang tried to explain. "It's a misunderstanding, don't attack like this." But Muck had no concern for that small little lizard nor for Kang's words. Suddenly Muck sped up his pace. It was clear that now he was ready for the fight. Kang was still retreating. He was not showing any intention to fight. Not even at the last moment. But then he had a realization. If he doesn't defend himself now, the situation could get very bad. Immediately, he took a defensive stance. He prepared himself to clash with Muck. However, Kang had defeated Muck before. But this time, the reason for hesitation was something else. He had understood that Muck is not a human. He was defeated in the same way as he had first thought. But this didn't matter to Muck. His body was now fully recovered and much stronger than before. He was super confident and ready to face off again. It seemed the clash was bound to happen now. Muck was ready to attack and Kang was ready to defend himself. But surprisingly, nothing happened. Both stood firmly face to face, completely still without making any move. Actually, he was just pretending that he was about to attack. He wanted Kang to make the first move so that he would get an official chance to start the fight. But Kang didn't catch his trick. The boxer-type boy stood nearby, observing every move of his face closely. He was shocked upon seeing it. This wild-looking man who was luring him suddenly stopped and wasn't showing any intention to fight. In the midst of that intense standoff, Kang's full attention was on his face. The thief spotted the opportunity and snatched Kang's weapon. Now the weapon was in his hand and he had a perfect excuse to fight. The thief was now ready to force Kang to regret dearly. Shouting in anger, he attacked Kang. His entire intention was to seriously hurt or maybe even kill Kang. But Kang turned out to be much faster than expected by the thief. He quickly made a sharp turn and successfully dodged the attack exactly at the right time. As soon as he dodged the attack, Kang realized that he was now directly in the path of the weapon. Surprisingly, Kang didn't feel happy that the annoying boy could get hurt. Instead, he felt a slight concern for the thief's jaw. But now, nothing could be done anymore. It was too late already. Meanwhile, Muck had observed the entire attack from start to end with full attention. He could have easily dodged and blocked, but he didn't. Actually, since he had absorbed that magical orb earlier, the desire to fight had completely filled him. If Kang wasn't fighting, then who could be better than this? The thief's first strike landed directly on Muck's head. A strike that could knock anyone unconscious or kill them. Surprisingly, Muck only got a small scratch. That single proof was enough. Muck finally got an excuse to start the fight. Without wasting a single second, he delivered a powerful kick to the thief's stomach. So powerful that the thief dropped Kang's weapon and was launched into the air. The weapon spun a bit, then Muck caught it before it could hit the ground. Without wasting a second, Muck jammed the weapon into the thief's neck from behind, pulling him toward him. In a smooth motion, as the thief came near, Muck delivered a headbutt to his face without hesitation. So brutal it aches just to watch. Muck clearly enjoyed himself. Meanwhile, the thief was almost unconscious from pain. He was clutching his head, wailing and screaming in agony. Thinking maybe Muck would stop now, but he was wrong. That was just the beginning. His mouth started beating him like a punching bag. Continuous punches from every angle. Sometimes he used Kang's weapon to make the pleasure of hitting even more intense. The relentless beating continued until the thief's condition deteriorated completely. He finally fell to the ground. Mouth stood over him, tears streaming from his eyes, weeping like a helpless child. He wore a satisfied expression, as if he had taught a rightful lesson. But the proud smile didn't last long. Mouth suddenly realized that one-sided fights are boring. There was neither fun nor a challenge in it. He remembered when he first came to Earth and fought Lee's bully. He also recalled the other boy, Chiel, who had been fascinating. Now Mouth had decided to seek a worthy opponent. The only worthy opponent left was his appointed target. Kang is only Kang and no one else. At that moment it dawned on him that he had come here to fight Kang, not this next thief. When he turned to look for Kang, he saw him. Mouth remained, Kang had disappeared from there. It seemed like Mouth was handling the thief. Kang decided to quietly escape from there by taking advantage of the opportunity. Now Kang was back on the road to complete his anti-bullying mission. But he was thinking about only one thing: how this Mouth keeps finding him again and again. He didn't know that this boy, who seemed such a fight enthusiast, is actually a god. Kang was so preoccupied trying not to speak, and to erase the excited look from his mind that he didn't even notice Dragon Ling. The embarrassed boy was so distracted by something he saw on the other side, as if consumed by an obsession. As Kang passed by quickly, he accidentally kicked Dragon Ling hard from behind. The poor creature flew off and crashed far away. But Kang was in such a hurry that he didn't even look back to see who he had hit or what he had knocked over. A little while later, Kang arrived at his home. As he entered, he casually sent his shoes flying a short distance without using his hands. His mind was completely stuck in his mouth, and his face looked freaky and pumped up. At that moment, his sister Hina came in from outside. She said in a teasing loud tone, "The prosecutor has arrived, Z has come." Hina, Kang's 26-year-old sister, had decided to change her career after that stalker case. Now she had become a prosecutor. Her goal was to deliver justice to cruel criminals. Kang and Hina had the same goal, but they chose completely different paths. With a playful smile, Hina pushed aside Kang and joked, "How dare you block the path of a great prosecutor?" Kang was clearly annoyed, as if any brother would do that, and he warned her that if she decided to use her powers, it wouldn't be good. After everything settled down, Hina went to her room to change clothes. But before leaving, she shouted at Kang, asking him to make some ramen because there was some left. Not even that, Kang stood there thinking. He thought about the day when his sister was badly injured. Today, she was so energetic and lively that Kang genuinely doubted whether she had truly forgotten that incident. Or perhaps she was just pretending. This question remained a mystery to Kang. Because for him, forgetting that day was impossible. The next day, while everyone peacefully went to school, Mun also went, but he had neither a backpack nor any books. He only had Kang's weapon, and as always, his little dragon was sitting on his shoulder. That poor dragon looked tired and injured. It repeatedly asked for forgiveness for having failed the previous night. But as always, its words made no impact on Mun. Some students, including Lee's bully, passed by nearby. They stared at the small dragon sitting on Mun's shoulder. Some wondered if it was a Komodo dragon. But no one dared to approach and confirm. Suddenly, Mun's attention shifted elsewhere. In front stood Kim, the class president. As soon as she saw her dear talking lizard, her face lit up with excitement. She literally started jumping, clearly thrilled that her talking friend had returned. But her happiness couldn't last long. Mu quickly reminded her that the time had come. It was the favor she had promised to fulfill. At that moment, Kim recalled that deal. When she had borrowed Dragon Ling, she had agreed to a condition. There wasn't much information about him. The only thing known was the person he was looking for. He wears a mask and protective glasses. But that hint alone was enough for Kim. He immediately understood whose voice it was. He told Mu that he had heard about that boy. A person who considers himself a bully hunter. And who watches anyone being bullied. He immediately baits the bully. Unfortunately, Kim didn't have much specific information about Kang, only rumors. Because of this, Mu was a little disappointed, but he still had full confidence that their meeting would happen again, and this time he wouldn't let Kang escape so easily. But Mu didn't know which Kang he was thinking of. He was already there. He was secretly observing him from behind, yet pretended not to watch at all. Kang came even closer. Both Ma and Dragon Ling's eyes widened. When Kang suddenly leaned forward and murmured softly, "Stay in your seat after class, I will come find you." Then saying that, Kang casually withdrew his weapon and left from near Ma. Ma was on her way, but she hadn't expected at all that she would face Kang so quickly. It was so sudden that when she heard Kang's voice, goosebumps ran all over her body. Even after so much planning, Ma let Kang leave without saying anything. Upon seeing Kang and Lee together, Kim had a bit of doubt. Are these two friends? Or maybe there is something else between them? He doesn't know who Kang is. Without knowing this, he gathered the courage and directly asked Lee, "What kind of guy is this, anyway?" He stood there receiving no answer from Kang, who slipped away after class when he realized he could easily escape. From that moment until the class ended, that hopeful and excited expression never left her face. For the first time, it felt like she had found someone. Someone with whom it would really be fun to fight. But all of this was just an act. Ma looked functional from the outside, but was completely nervous inside. His right leg was shaking so much that he couldn't control himself. But the worst situation was for the poor dragon Ling, which was hiding under the shaking leg inside Ma's pants and resting. Since morning, he had been enduring his leg's tremors like an earthquake. Finally, that long school day ended. Except for the night study group, all the other students were free to go home. Without wasting a moment, Ma quickly found the class president, Kim. He placed his small assistant, a cute little lizard, into her hands, and she clearly looked nervous. Ma simply said, "I have something urgent to take care of." Kim happily caught it, as if this was the best thing of the day for her. She picked up the lizard and left the class. She left without asking anything or doubting. And she didn't even know that if she pressed a little too hard on Dragon Ling, he would vomit right there. As soon as Kim left, only Ma was left in the class. Suddenly, a hand came out from the other side of the room. Of course, it was Kang. He leaped and announced his arrival. The moment had finally arrived. Ma and Kang's fight scene. Kang did not waste time, he came straight to the classroom. He closed the door and after reaching into his bag, took out training gloves. Confidently, he started putting on the gloves. Ma was a little surprised, is Kang going to do the same again? He recalled what he had done before, like wrapping a belt around his hand. But this time, while Kang was putting on the gloves, he looked at Ma and casually asked, "Do you really like fighting?" Ma shook his head and clearly refused. "No, I don't fight because I enjoy it." But behind that answer, Ma's real truth was something else. The real fun he got was that. The pain and shock when someone punches him. For normal people, this was scary. But for him, after centuries, that pain was oddly satisfying. The second reason was the burning in the muscles and the stretch, when he crossed his limits. And the third, fighting for 30 million years, was the only way of his life. To feel himself alive. Fighting was not a hobby. It was a part of his existence. And when he thought all this, a goofy and overly excited expression came onto his face. Kang paused for a few seconds. This guy seems psycho. But Kang, without overthinking, pulled another pair of gloves from his bag and tossed them towards Ma. He acted as if this was just a friendly spar. No life-death fight. Ma intentionally let the gloves hit his face. He didn't even change expression and then caught them mid-air. Kang put his bag in a corner and in a serious expression said, "Put on the gloves. I need a fair fight. Until the opponent raises their hand, I don't take the fight seriously." I immediately put on the gloves and ran towards Kang. His excitement was clearly visible. He threw the first punch, which Kang easily blocked and dodged. Kang got a bit annoyed that the opponent didn't even give him a chance to say anything, but he calmed himself. "I came here to fight and this is a fight." After just a few punches and blocks, both stepped back for a while. That small break was just what Kang needed to assess the whole scene and refocus himself. Recalling his pro boxer experience, he reminded himself that he first needed to relax his body. He also needed to prevent his muscles from becoming stiff. It wasn't just about brute strength. It was all about control. As soon as Kang took the first step, the opponent left just enough opening. He quickly launched another attack without hesitation. But this time, Kang was fully ready. He not only stopped the opponent's attack without taking any damage, but also used the same opening to land a solid punch on the opponent's jaw. But Kang didn't stop there. He threw another powerful punch from the other side that was even stronger than the previous one. It was evident. As soon as Kang saw his hand, a wave of satisfaction ran across his face. The power and precision of the punches impressed him about his own performance. He was so delighted that he felt like replaying the same motion on his face, as if he wanted to verify that the technique works again. Or not. First, he relaxed his muscles. Then he transferred the body's rotational force into his opponent's mouth via his fist and fingers. With pure impact, Kang was genuinely excited, as if he wanted to give his opponent's mouth a painful but practical boxing lesson. On the other side, even Mew couldn't help but be impressed by Kang's skill. He realized that if he didn't have those mysterious body enhancements obtained from Ob, these punches could have caused him severe damage. But instead of feeling demotivated, he felt even more thrilled. This was the fight he had been waiting for, painful and challenging. Thinking this, he was ready with full enthusiasm to continue the fight. To him, it felt like a proper fight. During this time, a red-haired boy was snoring on the third floor of the school during the night self-study class. Suddenly, his body started shaking uncontrollably, as if he were having a frightening dream. Maybe he had seen a ghost. With a jolt, he sat up, completely confused, as if he didn't remember where he was. As soon as reality hit, he saw a note on his desk that was not friendly at all. In it, he was repeatedly scolded for sleeping in class. Without trying to find out who left the note, he looked at the time on his phone. He decided that he should leave now. He lifted his bag and in a short while started going down the stairs out of the school. While feeling a bit hungry, the scruffy-looking boy took out a snack from somewhere and started eating it. But as soon as he reached the second floor, he saw something strange. A shadow was moving up and down. Clearly someone, or perhaps two people, was in the second-year class at that time. He couldn't understand who it was. That shadow was obviously Kang, who was still locked in his fury. At that moment, Muck felt cornered. He had no other option left but to defend. But thinking quickly, he came up with an idea. He suddenly lifted his leg and delivered a powerful kick to Kang's chest. Kang was completely off guard, and this was just the beginning. As soon as Kang staggered slightly, Muck tried to kick his face once again. Kang saved his face, but now he was completely furious. He glared at Muck and asked, "Why are you suddenly using your legs? In boxing, kicks are forbidden." Now Muck felt confident about his new strategy. With a smirk, he replied, "What are you talking about? I don't even know what a box is." Kang could barely say anything. Before he could respond, Muck kicked him again and sarcastically said, "Who said this fight would only involve fists?" Muck's kicks were so powerful that Kang stepped backward. For some time, Kang was visibly struggling. For a moment, he began to believe the words of Muck. Even though he was a top boxer, Kang was not at all prepared to fight with kicks. Muck took full advantage of his confusion and delivered another solid kick. The same boxer who was dominating the fight earlier, Kang, was now in the corner and had only the option of defending his body left. Only one question was whirling in Kang's mind. He seemed like a weak boy. How is he delivering such powerful kicks? Kang's entire world shook when Muck suddenly changed strategies and delivered a kick to his lower body's vital point. Kang completely froze. He did not understand at all how to react. But one thing was clear. If that spot is hit, it would be game over and he would not be able to continue the fight. Just as Kang feared, Muck kicked that weak spot with ease. But indeed, Muck's point was that nothing happened at all. No pain, no effect. His mouth immediately recoiled. They kept their distance from each other. But there was a sly, confident smile on his face, as if he was deliberately not finishing Kang. But the truth was that Muck had put his entire strength into that kick. But now the power enhancement of Dragon Link had completely run out, as if it had never existed. Upon realizing this, Muck began to panic. He knew that without that boost, he couldn't face Kang. Meanwhile, Kang, though a bit confused, had understood something. He knew that a guy like Mun never shows mercy to anyone. Then why didn't he finish him? Just then, as if some divine insight had struck him, Kang smirked with a mocking expression and said, "Don't tell me you've lost your power." Kang didn't know that his random guess actually turned out to be absolutely correct. According to him, Mun was just exhausted. He had reached his limit. He had no idea about any other power buffs, even the Dragon Ling kind. Mun said nothing. He just kept acting like he was normal, as if Kang's words were nonsense. But Kang had already solved the entire puzzle in his mind. Thinking this, he started laughing loudly. After the intense fight, his face looked as if he couldn't understand what to do now. And that red-haired boy standing behind the classroom was watching all this. From both sides, people were laughing at them as they fought, as if a comedy was going on. For him, this scene was not entertaining but very irritating. So much that he decided not to waste any more time and left there. Now the scruffy-looking boy was strong. That skill wasn't clear. But seeing Kang and Mun's fight, he just felt disgusted. As soon as that boy left, Kang stopped laughing, and he charged toward Mun with a serious expression. This was the perfect opportunity to turn the situation in his favor. Mun was now in a pretty bad spot. He tried to block Kang's attack with his leg, or at least to delay to stop the punch. But that simple plan didn't work. Instead of punching Mun's face, Kang attacked a vital spot that Mun had left exposed. Mun thought that his defense would be solid, but he was proved wrong. A single strike not only caused sharp pain, but because it happened on a leg, he twisted almost 90 degrees. It created a perfect opening for Kang. Kang didn't waste any time at all, and delivered a bone-crushing punch directly to the mouth. The punch was so heavy that Mun flew several meters away, and collided with the wall and fell down. But he was still not knocked out. Manhwa was stuck against the wall, thinking that without that enhancement buff, he couldn't even endure Kang's solid muscular body. At that moment, a last desperate option came to his mind. If he could use even a little of his original mana or inner energy, it might create the possibility of winning. Although he had tried many times and failed, yet he decided to try. After all, attempting the impossible is better than not trying at all. Manhwa pulled himself up, gathered his courage, and with full focus tried to summon a little magic into his fist. Then with that same hope, he charged toward Kang. This time he relied on his non-existent magic. But to Kang, it was as ineffective as a child's punch. He easily grabbed a fistful of air with his mouth. As soon as he saw the opportunity, Kang mocked Manhwa again with a smoke grenade. Now his face looked a little too lively, but the excitement was still missing. Then suddenly Kang felt something strange, as if some energy or weird sensation was passing through his body. He became so off guard that he turned around to see what it was. This was the exact moment he needed. He didn't delay even a second, and as soon as Kang's guard went down, he delivered another punch straight to Kang's face. The punch wasn't as powerful as it would be with enhancement, but still Kang felt a bit dizzy and he snapped. He regained full focus. Kang grabbed the other hand of Manhwa, but once again he felt a stronger energy wave passing through his body towards his back. Instinctively, he looked back again. It didn't matter whether it was magic or something else. The difference was that Manhwa took full advantage of this chance. This time he used his most reliable weapon, his head. Manhwa's headbutt was so powerful that Kang was driven back and collided directly with the classroom door, falling there. Completely knocked out, Manhwa stood in front of him now, with a proud expression, chest out. He wondered whether his mana-based plan actually worked, or if it was all just his imagination. After a while, he finally realized that he had somehow redirected a little mana in his body and channeled some magic into his fist, in a new way that he hadn't even tried before. But honestly, the thrill of casting magic wasn't as exciting as the thought of taking revenge on Kang. He was now moving as if a hungry caveman had finally seen a royal feast after years. He approached Kang's unconscious face but didn't have any crazy plans. He just wanted to leave his mark in his own style. But at that very moment, fate woke up Kang and his ear was saved. As soon as Kang regained consciousness, he realized that Manhwa might have wanted to neutral mark him like the other victims. But Kang was no ordinary person. He was a champion boxer and was not going to let it happen. He immediately pushed Manhwa back and stood up, gathering himself. Although he was still a bit dizzy, his determination to stop him had returned. Kang immediately accepted that he had underestimated Manhwa and gave up. But it didn't mean he was going to let him tear his ear. He might have wanted to tell Manhwa something about that strange sensation he had felt before the knockout. But his spinning head and bleeding nose prevented him from thinking straight at all. So he made up a quick excuse and left, thinking that the sooner he got away from Manhwa, the better. Manhwa felt a bit disappointed watching Kang leave. He was completely hopeful that today Kang would also be added to his list of playthings. But it seemed that today he wouldn't get that chance. A little while later, at Kim Yujin's house, a small dragonling was hidden beneath a huge bag. The bag was so large that it appeared to be double its own size. He was sweating heavily. He didn't take a single step. That bag contained all the belongings that either his master had ordered or he had bought himself. With no other option, the dragonling prepared itself. He started heading back, but instead of taking the easy path, he began leaping from the rooftop. As soon as he began racing toward Kang's house, his eyes caught sight of a cane approaching from afar. He was still stumbling, clutching his injured face. As soon as he saw Kang, the dragonling came to mind. It was that boy, the one who had kicked him on the butt last time without any reason. Now it was a chance to take revenge, and he wasn't going to let it slip. He immediately threw his bag down. He climbed onto it, crouched, and launched toward the opponent like a bullet. He was delivering a solid headbutt straight to Kang's face, just as his master had done. But luck wasn't on his side today. Kang spotted him in the final second, even while in a dizzy state, and instinctively delivered a punch that smacked that pure dragonling in midair. For a few seconds, Kang himself remained confused. He didn't even understand what kind of weird animal it was. It was attacking him. Kang thought the dragonling would give Bat a proper beating, but in his current condition that wasn't possible. He just shook his head. He muttered something and went out towards the house. He just needed rest now. As soon as Kang disappeared, someone else arrived there. And it was none other than Manhwa. He kept staring at the dragonling's broken body lying on the ground. He wondered if it had survived. It died, and this sparked an even greater curiosity in him. He became even more curious about what was in the bag. The next morning, Manhwa was again on the road to school. But this time, with a noticeable difference, he wore a new school uniform. And there was also a new backpack, with something dragging comfortably behind it. Now, instead of sitting on Mun's shoulder or hiding under his clothes, it was inside the backpack, more comfortable and secure. Dragon Ling proudly announced that he has brought the new uniform and backpack, with Kim Yujin, his loyal and reliable assistant. Just to make him happy, Dragon Ling liked his new home very much and declared that he will now stay there and will not attract attention unnecessarily. Meanwhile, Kang was walking from the other side of the street. As soon as Kang saw Mew's face, he approached him and asked with great curiosity, "Why the school uniform on Saturday?" Mew replied casually without any emotion. What Saturday? Kang got confused for a moment and perhaps got a little irritated. He felt that Mew was joking with him again. But he avoided argument and said that he couldn't have said that yesterday. Kang asked Mew again, "Do you really like fighting?" Mew repeated the same answer. "I fight because I have to." It was difficult for Kang to believe that, especially after that energy and excitement that he saw on Mew's face yesterday. But still, he didn't complain. Instead, he got straight to the point and said that he wants to spend time with Mew. "If you stay with me, I won't have to look for a fight. It won't be boring either." Mew heard this and his whole body started trembling with excitement, and that scary yet thrilled smile returned to his face. Kang didn't need any words in reply. Everything was written in his expression. Changing Mew's opinion about someone isn't easy. But Kang somehow did it. Everything seemed perfectly fine. When suddenly Mew said, "Take me to fight someone right now." Kang froze for a second, and then Mew explained that his intention wasn't to fight right then. He was speaking about the future. He was secretly listening to this whole conversation from inside a large bag. He was hidden, perhaps plotting revenge for losing twice to Kang. On Friday morning, Mew was standing as a guard outside a student restaurant in another high school, apart from his own school. He wasn't letting anyone go inside. No matter how bad someone's condition was, he wouldn't let them inside. In the restroom, a big boy was interrogating another student. "How much money have you earned?" That boy was the same thief whom Mew had beaten up badly last time. Nervously, he took out some money and said, "It's only 20,000. The big boy, whose body was the same as Mew's original form, turned red with anger and shouted, "This is not even close to what I asked for." His name was Youngjo, and he seemed like the top bully in school. The small thief, who was clearly Youngjo's lackey, started crying. Kang interfered. He ruined the entire plan. They didn't know his real identity. Just hearing Kang's name made Youngjo's mind spin. He delivered a powerful punch to the wall, and his face turned red with frustration. Kang was constantly obstructing his work, and now Youngjo had decided to punish him by catching him. But finding Kang was not easy. Thus, he ordered his goon to immediately gather everyone together. The mission to capture Kang had already begun. The scene shifts on Saturday evening where Mana and Kang were strolling together in the streets. Kang suddenly started sharing his feelings. "I used to fight without any reason. I would just beat up thugs when I saw them. But ever since I met Mana, I have begun enjoying real fighting. By staying in control with a purpose." Mana jokingly said, "Then why don't we fight each other instead of looking for a random one?" Both would enjoy. Kang laughed and declined. Mana was not on his fight list, but he promised that one day we would have a proper rematch. At that moment, the crowd noticed smoke rising. Kang also noticed it and immediately sniffed the air, saying, "It smells like cigarette smoke. So many people are smoking at once, what?" Without wasting time, he put on his mask and glasses and realized that his first target of the day had arrived. Kang approaches silently behind the dense smoke. Two boys appear at the entrance of L's, and the others were standing inside. One of the boys noticed Kang, but thought he might be a random passerby. Immediately he said, "Take out your wallet and hand it over." Kang became confident. This is his right target. He punched the boy's face without thinking. The other boy recognized Kang. He is the famous bully hunter. As soon as he shouted, he drew the attention of the other boys inside. Now there were at least 5 more bullies in front of Kang. Kang was surprised for a moment. He didn't expect such a big gang, but he remembered he wasn't alone. He immediately called out to Ma. Ma, who had already put on a jacket to hide his face. He was blushing with excitement, but he couldn't move. It wasn't fear, but excitement. He always needed to be the first to strike to start a fight. Right then, the boy who intended to punch Kang approached Ma. He grabs his leg and asks, "Are you with them, what?" That was enough for Ma. He considered it a first attack and finally entered the fight. In just a few minutes, Ma and Kang gave those thugs a good thrashing. But Ma was left bruised. They turned out to be completely weak. They fell down in just 2 punches. Kong had no problem with the outcome. He was happy, then he found a small bag on the ground. He immediately picked it up and gave it to its owner. The owner was a red-haired girl who was totally upset and helpless. But she was not a stranger. Kong recognized her instantly. She was his classmate whom he secretly liked. Before Kong could say anything, another boy entered the scene. Dragon Ling tries to give a warning, but Mo was already on alert. These were not random people. Before the fight started, Thag sent a message. The gang spotted that the message had reached Yangzhou. Now Yangzhou had arrived there with his whole gang. He was ready to punish the gang for running their so-called business. The gang understood, now the time had come to get serious. Without hesitation, he drew his weapon and prepared to continue the fight. Over there, the disappointed expression on his face turned completely into excitement. He realized that the fight was not over yet. The real fun was about to start. On Yangzhou's command, his entire gang launched a simultaneous attack on Kaig's face and cage. They had already decided to knock them down under any circumstances. Kang and Mun were standing completely ready. They were just waiting for his first move. But Mun's mouth could not control his emotions. He was so thrilled at the thought of an all-out brawl that his excitement caused uncontrollable drooling. Mun's mouth didn't wait for him to speak. Not wasting a second, he attacked the boys standing in front of him. He knocked everyone down one by one with a single strike, as if playing a game. He knocked out 3 of them immediately. But as soon as he realized that nothing could be more enjoyable than this, he kept fighting. There was one Kaig fell straight onto his face. And yes, he was none other than Yangzhou. In a single effortless move, Yangzhou caught Kaig off guard and threw him to the ground. In anger, Yangzhou demanded, "Why are there 2? In my opinion, there should only be 1. Off at a slight distance from Kaig stood the red-haired boy Hazen, who had grown disgusted after watching the fight between Mun and Kang the previous day. He was passing by. He was muttering about why no one was replying to his calls. But as he took a few more steps forward, the sound of the fight caught his attention. Curiosity overcame him, and he went to see what was happening there. What he saw was a mess. A group of boys were fighting among themselves, like a herd of wild goats. Hajun felt a familiar disdain as he saw all this, just like last time. But as he was about to ignore it and walk back, his eyes fell on the girl standing in the corner, and Kang was standing in front of her, ready to protect her with his life. At that moment, Hajun froze. He saw something in that girl that triggered a reaction, causing his anger to completely explode. In fact, Hajun's hatred for fighting truly stemmed from his childhood, when his father was an MMA champion. For Hajun, his father was everything. He respected and admired his father and considered him the strongest person. He idolized his father as a hero. But everything started to change when his father began taking drugs illegally to boost his strength. Initially, there was no noticeable difference, but gradually everything fell out of control. His father became addicted to the drugs, and the effects began to show on his mind as well. At that time, Hajun was very young. He didn't fully understand drugs or addiction then, but slowly his hero's image began crumbling. His house had turned into a terrifying nightmare. One day, his mother, who had been repeatedly abused, finally fled to save her own life. But she couldn't take her children along. Hajun stayed there with his little sister, whom he had to protect. There was no way out, no help. But he didn't give up. He made himself a shield for his sister. He took every blow upon himself so that his sister would stay safe. But deep down, he knew this life couldn't go on like this. One day, he decided that he would get out of this hell. He started watching his father's fights repeatedly. He carefully learned their moves, techniques, and everything, and continued to practice secretly. Years passed, and gradually Hajun grew as big as his father. One day, when his father slapped him on the face without reason, Hajun punched back for the first time without hesitation. He had endured everything, but not anymore. Now he was strong enough to stop him. His father was stunned. Hajun had for the first time stood up and opposed. But seeing this, his father became even more violent. In his rage, he said something that made Hazen's soul tremble. "Now I will not only kill you, but also your sister." It was the moment when Hazen lost his control. Filled with anger and fear, he did what he had never even imagined. He killed his father. Yes, Hazen had committed murder. But the court understood his situation. He was sentenced to only 1 year of juvenile detention. After serving his time, he returned to school. But life was not easy. Even during school, he worked day and night, earned money to support his and his sister's lives. There was no option of getting sick or injured. His body was his biggest asset. This was the reason why watching people like Muna and Kang recklessly throw themselves into fights disgusted him. But this time, everything was different. He could no longer turn away his gaze. Ignoring was no longer possible. Because the girl's safety is at stake and she is his sister. Yes, her name was Daljun. And he had not even realized until now that his brother was standing nearby. Hazan was wondering how she had gotten here. But now the questions didn't matter anymore. Now only one thing mattered. Keeping her safe, that girl was unaware. But Yeonjo wasn't noticing anyone either. He was just confused as to why this time two bully hunters had come. One of them had already fallen to the ground unconscious. Dragon Ling, trembling with fear, was trying to wake up his master. He thought the fight was already over. And now he prepared to deal with the next bully hunter. At that exact moment, a shadow suddenly appeared from behind. With a powerful, swift, and sudden strike, Hazan attacked Yeonjo at his weak spot. Yeonjo was completely caught off guard. He fell to his knees. He was shocked who had the audacity to attack from behind. But all this was just the beginning. Hazan grabbed his head with one hand and slammed him onto the ground with full force. The big one has fallen. Meanwhile, Dragon Ling was still trying hard to awaken his master. The voices were getting louder. But before he could finish the job, Hazan disappeared from above. He wasn't hurt. He just stepped on it and moved forward so that he could reach his sister as quickly as possible. Kang realized his presence after a short while. But he couldn't understand who this guy was. Who else has come here and why? But the confusion was even greater when, in a blink, Hazan knocked down two bully hunters as if they were nothing. Now only two thugs were left. And before they could react, Hazan reached them. He caught their stunned faces. And he slammed both of their heads against the nearby walls. Then as soon as Hazan reached in front of Kang, he gave a cold and serious look and said, "These guys crossed a line that should never have been thought of." Kang immediately understood that Hazan wasn't like the other thieves. Clearly, he had come there for that girl. Panicking, Kang tried to explain everything. But before he could, Daljun shouted loudly, "Brother Kang is here, run!" Stopped. Now it seemed like Daljun and this boy were really siblings. Their faces made it obvious. But before Kang could think further, Hazan attacked at the first opportunity. Kang was a champion boxer, he had quick reflexes. That's why he quickly threw a random punch to defend himself. But Hazan deflected it easily and caught a perfect opening. Surprisingly, instead of a punch or kick, Hazan simply placed his hand on Kang's shoulder and gave a powerful push. Kang staggered but wasn't hurt. Without wasting time, Hazan grabbed frightened Daljun's hand and said, "Come back to your senses and escape with me." Both started running, but Daljun had only taken a few steps when her small blue wallet fell from her hand. She didn't even notice. Haju didn't have time to tell her because another big threat stood in front of them, and it was Yeonjo. This time, Yeonjo was seriously pissed off. He was standing, blocking the alley exit. His eyes were fiery, he screamed in anger. "Who are you, these people, and why have you destroyed everything?" But Haju didn't have time to listen to his question, nor the mood to answer. He just wanted to get out of there. But before Haju could do anything, Fight stepped forward and delivered a powerful punch to Yeonjo. His fist landed right in front of Yeonjo's face. Fight was now conscious and took the opportunity to retreat. Fight hadn't realized what had happened yet, so he was confused for a while. Who is this and where did he come from to clear the path? But there wasn't time to think. Haju seized the opportunity and ran off with his sister Daljun. He was so excited to return to the fight that he wasn't just enduring blows, but now actually had the chance to throw punches too. Kang scolded him, "Why did you expose your face? Now you're an easy target for everyone." Meanwhile, Yeonjo was struggling. He was barely able to stand. Confused and dizzy, he raised his head and saw them running away. He couldn't stop them, couldn't even follow them, and this realization boiled his anger from within. Cursing loudly, he said, "I will find them again and tear them apart one by one on that day." The scene shifts a few hours later. Kang had made a simple sketch of Yeonjo. He was explaining to Mew that this guy actually exists. Who and what should we do next? According to Kang, Yeonjo was one of the most notorious delinquents in the area. But it wasn't just about him. There were two others like him, Kwak Dugwin from KHWA High School and Kim Chaeyoung from Whistle High School. The three together were known by one name, Godori. All three were the top bullies of their respective schools. Mew didn't know anything about the other two, and for the time being Kang didn't want to focus on them either. He was simply explaining the whole situation to Mew. Kang said that earlier there hadn't been much trouble with these people, but since Yeonjo arrived, everything has changed and the situation has become very bad. Under Godori's command, people are openly shouting extortion during the day. Kang also mentioned the boys with whom there had been a fight earlier. Before Yeonjo came, they were probably part of the Godori gang. but they were not directly under Yangzhou. So far, everything Kang has seen and analyzed leads him to think that Yangzhou is the real leader of this gang. And that's why he is acting with so much authority. Kang explained everything carefully and in detail. Mew still looked confused, as if he didn't understand a single word. He told Kang, "Bro, explain again. I'm not remembering that part about delinquents and extortion." When he also said something nonsensical about a horse. Kang's mind went blank again. He snapped, "You have a brain." Even that sounded like decoration. At that moment, Dragon Ling emerged from his hidden place. He couldn't tolerate the insult to his master, and Kang was completely shocked. He had absolutely no idea what Dragon Ling actually was. And Dragon Ling's sudden appearance completely threw him off guard. He stared at him, confused, and muttered softly, "What kind of creature can speak like that?" Obviously, calling him a frog was not liked by Dragon Ling, who still considered himself a powerful dragon. Mu, as always, in chill mode introduces Kang as his assistant, or perhaps something like a friend. The situation becomes even weirder because of that. Kang began to have a lot of doubts about Mu. Mu's complete cluelessness, they don't even know the days of the week. Seeing this, Kang started feeling that perhaps Mu has no knowledge of even basic things. And now even a walking, talking frog had become Mu's assistant. Kang quickly realized that he was stuck in a very strange mess. Mu was secretly a little impressed that a simple human like Kang had already realized that Mu is not originally human. Then both started speaking at the same time. Kang openly asked, "Are you an alien?" And I casually replied, "I am a god." But Kang didn't see any god vibes on their face. Proving my clueless nature, I immediately asked, "What does alien means?" They really didn't know what an alien was. This entire back and forth was happening in President Kim's house in Hilarious. She was also wondering why these people were here. And on top of that, she was forced to sew Mu's torn shirt. After a while, her irritated face softened a bit. When Dragon Ling came over slowly, sat by her feet, and started playing with her phone. Now Kang tried to simplify things for Mu's tiny brain. He asked whether Mu is a god or an alien. For now, our target is only Yangzhou, the one who slapped you and brought you down. After that, you punched him. Kang was clearly blaming Yangzhou for every incident that happened to Daljun. And as soon as he remembered Daljun's condition, Kang's blood began to boil with anger. Now Mu finally understood who they needed to focus on. The strange thing was that Mu was feeling joy from that real fight. They also found the experience of being beaten by Yangzhou a bit special. But somewhere Mu knew the truth. Mu knew that they could not win a proper fair fight against Yangzhou, especially in their current condition. Only the size difference was making it a hard challenge for them. Nevertheless, they started feeling excited again. The thought of fighting someone stronger than them started feeling like the best challenge. But in the next moment, reality hit them hard. They could easily fall down again. Now they knew they would have to train a lot more than they have done so far. Kang also agrees, he says. Mu is not ready for Yangzhou yet, and he should come to his gym and train. But Mu immediately refuses. They didn't like Kang's training style, which focuses only on bare-knuckle fights. Mu is thinking they want something totally different. Something more intense, more diverse, and they want Rawa training. Then Dragon Ling, who was playing on Kim's phone, suddenly became excited. He jumped towards Mu and said, "I found the one you were looking for." It was a video, probably online, of a challenge taking place in an underground arena. The video featured an undefeated fighter who had a 13-win streak and who usually defeated his opponents in a few seconds. The streaming girl asked, "Is anyone there? Who dares to confront this cow?" And then things got even more interesting. She announced that the winner would get 1 million. Now Mun and Kang both started watching the video attentively and kept listening to the girl's remarks. But what caught their attention the most happened when Kang recognized the undefeated fighter. He confirmed that he is a member of the Godori gang. Mun asked Kang for further clarification. "So you're saying this is part of the same gang? The one you had previously told me about?" Kang nodded his head in agreement, and that was enough to be satisfied. Now his next goal was clear. He would use this chance to train himself. He would defeat Yangzhou and then bring down the Godori gang one by one. All of that was happening on Earth. But the situation in Divine Rail was very serious. A powerful magical attack had fallen directly on the Earth God's domain. The attack was so devastating that it was evident at first glance that it was the work of Lucifer. Lucifer was pouring his full strength into breaking through Earth's barrier. He wanted any chance to finish the battle. This time he had pushed himself beyond his limit. He was absolutely sure that he had indeed created a crack in the barrier. And if he didn't seize this moment while the barrier was still weak, Then as soon as the barrier's strength came back, he would find himself stuck in a life-or-death situation. As the smoke and dust around Mini-Earth began to clear, Lucifer's eyes stayed fixed on it. He looked desperately to see the result. But what he saw was difficult to believe. Mini-Earth was completely unharmed. Even after Lucifer's ultimate move, there wasn't even a single scratch on its barrier. It was expected, but still Lucifer couldn't bear his defeat. He was completely confident that the barrier should have broken by now. His frustration grew even more when he remembered the day when Mun broke Lucifer's planet's barrier with just a finger flick. And he threw that ugly boy inside as if he were worthless. He did it without caring for a second about Lucifer's permission or thoughts. Now Lucifer, despite countless attempts, couldn't do anything like that, and this realization began to tear him from within. He began to feel that he would burst out in anger. Even in terms of meaning, Youngjo's condition wasn't any better. He was burning with anger inside. Just like Lucifer, in an attempt to keep himself in control, perhaps to calm down a bit, he started throwing punches and kicks loudly at the door in front of him. At the same time, he was shouting and swearing at the bully hunters. They had beaten him badly and insulted him. He was standing there just trying not to think about all those things. But then suddenly he realized that he was attacking the door. It was actually a bathroom door, and inside was a man. The man's condition deteriorated. Out of fear, he lost control 3 times. Then he looked up and realized what was happening outside. Finally, Youngjo came out of the public restroom feeling completely defeated. Only one thought was lingering in his mind. Some losers had beaten him up and insulted him. And the worst part was that he gained nothing from that day onward. Outside, there was a little boy. The boy who had been with him earlier was waiting there. Trying to look a bit cool, he took something out of his pocket. Daljun's blue wallet, which he probably dropped by mistake. Youngjo snatched the wallet and shook it hard to see what was inside. As soon as a few coins fell, Youngjo's mind started to spin. He felt like a little thief. He is mocking him. What will happen with such a pathetic amount? But he didn't notice that along with the wallet, Dajiun's ID card had also fallen to the ground. A school identification card that had his photo, full name, and school name on it. Youngjo picked up the card and began to look at it closely. After a few seconds, his mood completely changed. A cunning smile appeared on his face. He realized that by using this info, he could take revenge on those bully hunters. The story of that day ended right here. Without any clear explanation. The next morning, Mu KH and Dragon Ling were walking on the street. Dragon Ling was reading the map that President Kim had given him and telling Mu KH the way. It seemed that Mu KH was heading towards the same arena, which Dragon Ling had shown him in a video. A short while later, when a man with his dog was passing by them. By accident, a slight fart escaped from Dragon Ling. Neither Mu KH nor the man noticed anything, both casually moving forward. But the dog could not hide anything from its keen nose. As soon as the fart smell reached its nose, the dog got really angry. He became completely uncontrollable. He went on a rampage. I don't know what was in that gas, but its effect was so intense that the dog immediately leapt onto Dragon Ling and delivered a ferocious bite to his butt. It seemed as though the dog had punished him to ensure he would never do such a disgusting act again. After administering justice, the dog calmed down. But Dragon Ling learned a lesson he would never forget. Both glared at each other angrily and parted ways. Dragon Ling was confused. He couldn't understand why an attack happened over such a minor thing. He thought the dog might be crazy, and he resolved to take revenge for this insult someday. After a few minutes following Dragon Ling's guidance, they finally reached their destination. The small girl in the video sat at a table, checking the participants to see who could take part in the fight. She also noted who would be rejected. When Mu's number was called, the girl immediately noticed that he was a high school student. His school uniform made this clear. She also recognized Mu's school. But to confirm, she asked, "Am I right?" Before Mu could say anything, Dragon Ling whispered from his hiding place. "Yes, just agree." Muna, as he always, remains clueless. He said yes, believing the dragon's story. Now the girl asked the next question. "What kind of fighting experience do you have? Which makes you worthy of participating in the arena?" Muna didn't even understand what she was asking. The girl clarified again. "Any background will work, such as boxing, wrestling, martial arts, or street fighting." Now Muna understood. He paused to think and started counting on his fingers as if doing a calculation. Then, with the help of Dragling and using his full brain power, he proudly said, "I have over 3 million years of all kinds of fighting experience." Hearing this, the people standing behind burst into laughter. Everyone thought the idiot was joking around. But that girl actually liked the answer and allowed him to enter the fight. Now the girl demanded an entry fee of 5,000 won. Dragling pulled out money from somewhere and gave it to Manhwa. If anyone is wondering where the money came from, it's easy to guess. That little lizard is a professional thief. She had tricked Kim's trust and swiped his wallet. But neither Manhwa nor Dragon Ling could count money properly. They didn't even realize that they only had 46,000 coins, i.e. 4,000 fewer than required. The lucky thing was that the girl liked Mun's appearance, so she gave him a discount and let him enter. After everything was settled, Mun moved aside so the next person could come forward for the interview. As soon as Mun started leaving, his eyes caught something and he stopped to turn back. There was a big guy there who was wearing a green shirt. He was wearing a t-shirt and a jacket. He was casually leaning against a structure like a column or a lamppost. Mun stared at him for a few seconds. His attention fixed on the boy's body and presence. The size and definition of his muscles were so clear that Mun immediately understood. This guy is not an ordinary boy. He is definitely a serious fighter. However, Mun had not seen his face yet. But after seeing the physique, he thought this might be the one. The one Kang had mentioned, the Godiwala. Now Mun's focus was completely fixed on him. Strangely, despite being so noticeable, that boy seemed completely oblivious to his surroundings. A little while later, the event was about to start. Then that boy revealed his face and the twist came. That person was actually a girl, or a boy who looked very much like a girl. The small streaming girl announced the opening of the match. She introduced the undefeated champion. The champion and the announcer girl were standing in the middle of the arena, while the rest of the people stood far apart around them. The announcer girl shouted the champion's name with full energy. Vislego is a fighter with 13 consecutive wins. Then he made his move, clueless as always. He advanced confidently, as if this fight were only his. He had no idea that it was not a one-on-one battle. He arrived in the middle of the arena. He took a fighting stance and announced he was ready to start the fight. Everyone was shocked by his move. Even the announcer girl was shocked. But his face with its goofy smile was totally unaware of how people were staring at him. He confidently declared, "Let's begin the fight right now." And this time he didn't wait for anyone to kill him. His mouth was about to launch the first attack. He thought that if he stood in the middle, then both sides were ready. He believed that meant both sides were ready. But before he could make any move, the referee quickly came and stopped his mouth. His face showed disbelief. She thought Mun would ruin the whole event. She rolled her eyes. In frustration, she started explaining to Mun. Perhaps Mun's IQ wasn't high enough for him to understand on his own. She took out a paper from her small pocket, showed it to Mun, and explained that he would have to follow the rules. You can't fight the champion directly like that. The paper detailed the entire tournament format. Initially, everyone had to fight separate battles. Then the winners fought each other until a final champion was determined. Mun finally agreed and started cooperating. About an hour later, 3 fights had taken place and their winners had been decided. Now it was Mun's turn. Mun was standing at his spot. He had been waiting all along just for this moment. His opponent was none other than the boy whose dog had previously attacked him during a draglelling bout. The event host tried again to create the atmosphere and introduced Mun. This is Mun, he tells himself. He is a fighter with 3 million years of experience. Of course, nobody believed this. Then he introduced Mun's opponent. The Chinese martial arts expert, a calm and disciplined fighter, was watching the match from a distance, completely opposite to his wild dog and draglelling. His eyes were darting around from excitement as people were placing bets on the fighters. He was feeling proud that finally, his lord's match was about to start. But just then, his attention shifted away. On the other side, a dog was continuously barking, so loudly that the crowd's excitement was also overshadowed. Draglelling began to feel that the face of that dog looked somewhat familiar. After a while, he remembered that this was the very same dog who had bitten his butt. Burning with rage from that painful memory, Draglelling jumped out from his hidden spot as if a bird was soaring. In the next moment, he landed on the ground not awkwardly like a lizard, but gracefully like a skilled master. Mouth landed near the arena and suddenly got scared. What is happening now? But Dragon Ling was very angry. Dragon Ling didn't even answer Mouth's question. Dragon Ling's entire focus was on the dog. It seemed as if they were communicating through telepathy. And Dragon Ling challenged the dog to a fair fight. The astonishing thing was that the dog understood too. The dog shook his head violently. The dog freed himself from the collar. The dog cut through the crowd and arrived right in the middle of the arena. The Chinese fighter realized that everyone was talking about his dog. He had no idea why his pet ran there with so much enthusiasm. Everyone else was shocked. But the event host girl got excited. She turned the whole thing into a rare double battle event. Owners versus owners and pets versus pets. And yes, all of this was done to increase views on the stream. The announcer announced the 3-crore-year-old fighter and his appointee as the Chinese martial arts international student. She gave the second part of the showdown a name. Wes, a small lizard-like crazy dog with a newly emerged tail. For a moment, the Chinese fighter along with the other people stared at Dragon Ling. They wondered what it was. What a sight. Seeing Dragon Ling's hats and wings, everyone was confused. But before anyone could get an answer, the little girl screamed. The fights are about to begin. Trying to look polite and a bit more confident, the Chinese fighter started explaining his technique. He said that it is an ancient style. It mimics animals' movements. He made his fingers like a wild animal's claws and said no unarmored human can stand up to this technique. Then he ran toward my face with full confidence and warned me not to take him lightly. But Manhwa kept standing still, on the other side as if nothing was happening at all. And then in one swift move, the boy reached near Manhwa and attacked with his claw-like hands, believing that his tiger style was unbeatable. But unlucky for him, Manhwa made a super quick move. Manhwa landed a powerful punch on his stomach. The Chinese boy wanted to scream out in pain, but the sound didn't even come out. He fell straight to the ground in shock. At that very moment, he realized that his real miscalculation was underestimating Manhwa. He was paying the price. Manhwa raised questions about his martial arts technique at that moment. You may copy as much as you want the movements of animals, but the human body has its own limits. These moves can be predicted and can be stopped. The Chinese boy slowly began trying to stand up. Just from Manhwa's single punch, his entire system had faltered. For a moment, he understood that his opponent was no ordinary boy. Manhwa felt like a concrete wall, solid and unwavering, yet he refused to admit defeat. He decided that he would try everything now. As a last option, he chose a technique that his master had explicitly forbidden him from ever using on a human. Suddenly, the Chinese boy, whose name is still unknown, moved. He placed one hand on the ground, then the other, which confused Manhwa a little. Manhwa fell into thought. Now what is it going to do? While Manhwa's fight was becoming interesting, the crowd's curiosity had shifted elsewhere. Dragaling versus Cybris. Poor Dragaling, whose entire strength had already been exhausted, desperately thinking about how to deal with this crazy Cybris. But before forming a strategy, Cybris charged at them again. The dog's body language was as if it just wanted to bite Dragaling's butt again. But it wasn't just that. The stream girl was just thinking when suddenly the dog stopped itself and spread its legs in ninja style, and then there was an explosion. As soon as it made the ninja move, everyone thought there were 3 dogs ahead. At once, not just the Dragaling but the entire audience. Even the stream girl was in shock. Everyone started thinking, is this some kind of trending ninja dog? And from here, things got even more difficult for Dragaling. Cybris created an illusion of 3 attacks simultaneously. Dragaling tried to save themselves. They thought the Cybris in the middle was real. They attacked it, but guess what? The real Cybris was the one on the left. Cybris took the opportunity and delivered a powerful bite to Dragaling's neck. The poor demigod shouted loudly. After Cybris was left behind, the stream girl announced to the viewers that this was the dog's spectacular victory. But that crazy, tea-fueled Cybris didn't stop there. Cybris began preparing to attack again. Now the camera went back towards its owner. The Chinese boy was now in a pose as if he were about to do push-ups. But in reality, he wasn't training. He was basically imitating the body movements of 4-legged animals. He was attempting a completely different technique aimed at the mouth. And then, without wasting time, he sprinted full focus towards the mouth. On the other side, the mouth was still standing chill, totally cool and unfazed. Seeing this weird and slightly funny-looking technique of the Chinese boy, people in the crowd started laughing. What kind of martial arts is this, bro? The master of the Chinese boy was also present in the crowd. I don't know whether he was actually there or it was his spirit. But one thing was clear. He absolutely disliked that his student was using that move. He had forbidden it, especially in front of the audience. But the Chinese boy didn't care about the crowd nor the master. His entire attention was on defeating Monk. Now finally, even Monk's face showed some emotion. He began to think about what the opponent was going to do. He thought about how to defend himself. But before he could think, the Chinese boy jumped into the air and leapt straight at Monk to attack with his tiger paw move. And this time Monk was truly surprised, because just moments before his focus had been on that boy's low stances. And now this aerial attack arrived. Then the Chinese boy actually reached Monk's face and swiped like a tiger. He felt as if he had slashed Monk's face into 5 jagged pieces. Or at least that's what he thought. After the jumping strike, when he landed a little away, he saw Monk bent in pain holding his face. But then Monk withdrew his hand and realized that he had taken this boy too lightly. If he had true claws instead of nails, Monk's face would not have remained intact now. In fact, from that attack, there were only 4 light scratches on Monk's face. But the fight had just begun, and his opponent was not about to let him go so easily. The Chinese boy charges at him again. This time with full determination, but this time he did not repeat the tiger move. Instead, he started using techniques from different animals that he thought would hurt Monk more. Sometimes he moved like a cat, then in the next moment like a crocodile hacking at Monk's leg. Then like an angry horse or donkey, he attempted a back kick at Monk's face. Monk began to realize he could not predict this boy's next moves, because he had never faced a fighter who fought by combining styles of so many 4-legged animals. Monk began to feel stuck for a while. His opponent was completely unpredictable. But according to Monk's nature, even in such a tough situation, he began to feel thrilled. He realized that he always wanted to experience a real and intense battle like this. And at that moment, Monk's eyes suddenly landed on the dog standing right next to him, looking ready to launch another dragging attack. Monk suddenly understood that if his opponent kept mimicking 4-legged animals like a dog, then perhaps their weakness would be the same. And that weakness was the back of the neck, i.e., the spinal line behind the neck. Monk understood the strategy. At that moment, the Chinese boy ran at Monk again with his wild attack. But seeing Monk stare, he suddenly reduced his speed, because Monk suddenly sat on his knees as if trying to do something sly. The Chinese boy didn't know that Monk was gathering full power in his feet. The muscles were maximally flexed. The Chinese boy tries to stop him quickly, but Monk suddenly sprang up like a kangaroo. He moved so fast and high that he completely disappeared from the opponent's sight. The whole crowd started shouting, and people in disbelief began recording videos. How can a human jump to such a height? The Chinese boy realized that now he would have to look up. But before he could do anything, Ma landed on his head with 1 foot. And with the other foot, he kicked his butt so hard that he stumbled completely. Now Ma had a smile on his face. He had understood how to defeat such an opponent. We'll have to attack from above. Because the other techniques were failing, people started tearing them apart. But some were angry because they had placed a bet on the Chinese boy and their money was lost. As soon as Ma felled his opponent, it dawned on him, oh, my assistant is still fighting. When Ma glanced over there, he froze in shock. Dog had thoroughly beaten Dragon Link, and now he was barking loudly at Ma. Ma shot him a terrifying glare as if angrily questioning, you've reduced my assistant to this state. At that very moment, Dog's entire demeanor vanished. He lay completely still out of fear. It was as if he went into fake death mode. The dog's instincts were saying, this human is way above my leg. This human is way above my leg. And then the announcer girl declared the winning move. And it was also announced that the Chinese boy is now the laughingstock. The audience started cheering for the face pat again. Now everything had settled. Only one thing was left. He wanted to leave his mark on that adversary who had given him such a hard time. But the people standing there gave him a warning by saying this. Don't do it, it is forbidden. And everything is live streaming. Don't take on unnecessary trouble. For once, Ma listened to his words and allowed the announcer to continue the remaining matches. So far, 4 winners have been decided. In the next hour, 2 more fights occurred, and the champion with a 13-win streak reached the final after both victories. Now it was time for the move as his new opponent for the 7th match. The winner was going directly to the final. The ring announcer girl hyped up both fighters again with energy. On one side was Ma, the 3000-year-old fighter. And on the other side was a professional boxer. He had a lot of experience and victories, but something was off. When it was revealed that this opponent was none other than Chio, they were stunned. That same Chio who had been badly defeated by Ma last time. Chio's hands and ears still bore the marks of a past fight. He was not fully healed yet, and thus facing Mun again was probably his last option. On the other hand, Mun was a bit slow. He hadn't recognized Chio at all in such things. But after staring for a while, Mun finally remembered him. Contrary to Chio's gloom, Mun was excited. Just like a child who gets happy finding a favorite toy again. He thought, wow, here's another chance to give this tough guy a thrashing. Chio recalled his painful past experience. But this time, he had made up his mind. This time I won't drop my guard. Both moved forward together, ready for the rematch. Then the girl who was in charge of the fight shouted loudly, start the fight. And she also asked a question, who will defeat our undefeated champion? As soon as she spoke, Mun and Chiao both tried to throw a punch without a moment's delay. Without looking into each other's eyes, they kept blinking, as if both were trying to show each other who is more powerful. Their punches collided while testing each other's strength. Chiao's arm hadn't fully healed yet, or maybe he was pretending. But he punched the mouth with that same hand, and that's it. He felt a sharp pain in his mouth from his own hand. Mun suddenly pulled back his hand. His fingers were cramping with pain, while Chiao didn't care at all. Instead, he felt a bit of relief, as if he had tricked Mun into taking the same test he himself had endured. After all, because of Mun, his hand had ended up in a plaster cast. Mun tried to control himself, but that pain was so intense that it would be difficult for anyone to bear. But Mun didn't let anyone in. He turned that pain into a reminder. I am alive, and this is the reason that I have come here to Earth's. He developed a twisted, intense expression on his face, and in the heat of the battle, Mun shocked Chiao. This reaction of Mun was also a signal. It alerted Chiao not to take him lightly. Chiao immediately thought of an effective plan to distract Mun with a jab storm, and then end the fight with a solid kick. On the other hand, Mun had now stabilized a bit and was able to defend properly. Chiao thought that Mun would see him just as a boxer, so he wouldn't expect a kick. He considered this his S move. But Mun deduced from Chiao's leg muscle movements that the next step was a kick. Chiao, considering himself the winner, started trash-talking Mun, while his leg was still in the air. He didn't know that Mun had not only recognized the kick, but also prepared a counter-attack. In an instant, Mun punched Chiao's vital spot. It was the same technique that he had previously learned from Kang. But for the first time, he got a chance to use it. Like it happened with Mun the first time. Now Kiao's body also rotated 90 degrees the same way. And this was the first part of that technique. The second part was. It was a brutal face strike that came after Ni's punch. Mun executed it perfectly like Kang. He caught Kiao completely off guard. Kiao couldn't withstand the force of that hit. He fell straight to the ground and fainted. Suddenly Mun jumped on top of him. It was not a romantic scene. He ripped off another piece of Kiao's ear. He did so while completely ignoring people's early warnings. The boy who used to call Lee before and now stood silently in the crowd. He was the most frightened after seeing this moment of Mun. He knew what Mun could do. No one had the courage to stop Mun. And finally, that moment succeeded. Now it was time for the final fight. Against that tall girl who had 13 win strikes. His resolve was completely shaken. This was the moment he had been waiting for since his mouth had been kept away. As the seconds ticked by, his body began to shake with excitement. The short girl hadn't even started the fight properly when Mun made a sudden jump to take advantage. But the girl was ready. She delivered a solid kick to Mun's face. Though surprised, he saved his head. His speed impressed her. The fight started again, and it honestly looked like a one-sided beatdown. The girl kept landing kick after kick. Mun wasn't getting any chance to do anything. All he could do was duck and block. He did not get any proper opening. After a short pause, Mun thought of changing the strategy while controlling his breathing. He knew that the girls from Gyudori are tough. But he had to win, and then he got the idea to do something unexpected. Mun made the same sly face that he had made in the fight with Kang. The girl became a bit confused. She thought perhaps something happened to Mun, and the fight should be stopped. That was Mun's plan. He took a sudden jump, taking advantage of that confusion, while maintaining the sly expression. But before he reaches the opponent, the girl gave another kick to his face. Mun immediately activated a backup plan. He drove his leg with full strength and delivered a spinning kick toward her face. Unfortunately, his leg turned out to be a little short. The kick missed the girl. The kick was deflected, his face remained untouched. Mun immediately moved back. He entered the safe zone and began planning the next move. But one thing started to trouble him. The difference in their body sizes was evident. He began to regret wishing he had possessed a better body. This small body had become his problem. Meanwhile, the girl finally realized that she had underestimated her opponent just by his looks. Now she decided that the time has come to be serious. She leapt toward Mun faster than before and kicked straight at his midsection. The kick hit exactly as per the plan, but Mal blocked with both hands and stopped most of the impact. But the story didn't end here. The girl immediately jumped into the air and went for another spinning kick. This time, Mal's position was actually quite bad. A clean hit could have taken her down directly. But then something strange happened. As soon as the kick was about to connect, Mal suddenly seemed to disappear. Either he dodged so quickly that he seemed invisible, or he truly vanished for a second. Everyone was shocked and the girl was also completely stunned. She wondered where did Mao go. She landed gracefully like a pro taekwondo fighter and immediately started looking around to see what was happening. Then her gaze fell on Mao and what she saw shocked her even more. Mao was now crawling on all fours. He moved exactly like an animal, copying the Chinese boy she had fought before. Clearly, Mao had decided that this was the best way to defeat the tall girl who looked like a lamppost. So he was ready to try anything. Mao thought that by changing his fighting style, he could confuse the girl. And to tell the truth, his plan was working. The girl couldn't understand at all how Mao was in this new form. A deal was made as soon as Mao pounced on her like a wild dog. The girl wanted to kick his face like before, but this time it was different. Her moves weren't as sharp as before, as if she were getting nervous. And Mao easily dodged one attack after another. As the girl figured out how to deal with this low stun attacker, she became even more aggressive. Loud cheering erupted in the crowd. Everyone liked this new technique, especially against an opponent who had a 13-win streak and was standing in that same crowd, the Chinese boy whom Mao had fought before. He himself was there. It was surprising that Mao perfectly copied his style in just one match. While he had spent 5 years learning it, he was still struggling. Even the ghost of his master was quietly impressed. And now the same people who were previously mocking that technique were now clapping for it. The most impressed was the ghost of the Chinese master. He could see how Mao employed his technique with perfect execution. Now back to the fighters. He kept continuously dodging the girl's strikes, one after another. But suddenly he decided that merely dodging is not enough. Now something else will have to be done. It began swiftly spinning around her on all fours. The girl was now even more confused and shocked. She was wondering which animal could spin like that. Besides a cockroach, she sensed Mouth's intentions. She thought Mouth was about to attack from its blind spot. Without thinking, her body reacted instinctively. She spun and kicked, and this time the kick actually hit something. She looked closely to see whether the kick actually hit Mouth. She then realized that she had only hit herself. She had hit the thing that was somehow floating in the air. She fell to the ground, sustaining a slight fracture, and their Mouth appeared on her other side faster than lightning. The girl didn't even realize it was all the Mouth's plan, a perfect distraction to provide an opening. In the next moment, she understood someone was standing right in front of her. And then she realized how effortlessly she had been made a fool. Now was the Mouth's moment to shine, not imitating small animals, but displaying the might of a colossal beast perfectly suited to this girl. We know Mew spent 3 million years on Earth as an early human. But he wasn't always there. Around 3,000 years ago, he became the god of gods and the god of Earth. Before that, he had to reside on one of Lucifer's designated planets. Mew soon discovered that place overflowed with endless mana compared to Earth. Therefore, almost all the animals there evolved so rapidly that they have now become monsters. Even in such a dangerous place, Mew didn't just survive. He became even more powerful by hunting monsters every day and eating them. But there was a creature there that was completely different from the others. Not only was its size impressive, but its power was far beyond Mew's expectations. Therefore today Mew made a plan to copy that beast's skill, because that beast still holds a place of respect in his heart. To be honest, it was much more logical for Mew to copy the moves of a massive and powerful creature, as opposed to imitating any normal animal. This was the story of Mew's technique. Now he quickly devised a simple plan in his mind on how he would actually replicate that beast's move. It wasn't too complex. He just had to adjust his muscles into the shape of that creature and then strike. Surprisingly, the boy's plan wasn't to punch the girl. His attack was to be of a slightly different type. The tall girl was completely off guard and just stood there watching as the attack came. Mouth gave her a powerful hit. So fast and powerful that the girl couldn't believe the force was coming from a small, thin, and frail boy. But it didn't stop there. The power of Mouth's attack was so great that the girl literally flew into the air and was thrown backward, landing on the ground. As if a speeding truck had hit her. She crashed straight into the bench and table where the short girl was conducting interviews with participants. But surprisingly, the girl did not faint. She had severe pain in her side. Maybe some bones are also broken. But Mun was not in the mood to let go. He immediately jumped behind him. He put all his strength into the move with both hands to execute the final technique. This move was also not his own. It was Bimat's technique that he was about to copy. But right at the moment when Mun was about to finish him, the announcer girl leapt into the middle. She took a step with perfect timing and saved the champion, declaring that the match is now over because he had been thrown out of the ring. A short while later, Short Girl announced that Mun had beaten the famous champion, ending his 13-win streak. She also added a shocking twist in the announcement. But the surprise wasn't just about him. The people standing all around were also in shock. Some people were amazed by Mun's strength for beating such a big opponent, while others thought it was a stunt in which the announcers gave an excuse to save the champion, something no one had ever heard before. Without caring about anyone, the announcer wrapped up the broadcast. She wore a fake, satisfied smile, as if everything had gone according to plan. But as soon as the stream ended, his expression changed completely. In an annoyed mood, she said to his face, "Let's go, I will give you 1 million. Just come with me." A few minutes later, she took him to a quiet alley. As they walked, she started talking. Initially, it seemed like she was going to pay him in some other way. Maybe by offering herself. But there was nothing like that. Mouth wasn't the kind of guy who was interested in these things. No matter how much the girl tried, and as expected from a short, feisty girl, her mind was running on something else. Something that Mouth had no idea about at all. Without any warning, the girl suddenly flipped and in a lightning-fast motion, jumped straight and struck the man's chest with a hard strike. He was completely off guard. He was standing casually, hands in pockets. He didn't expect at all that this little girl would do such a thing. The hit was so solid that he couldn't even absorb it with his body. He fell to the ground. Mouth, confused, didn't understand anything. Treating that little devil lightly became his biggest mistake. Then the girl revealed her true identity. She was one of the top 3 members of Jidori and introduced herself as Chungu. The final encounter that Mouth had completely ignored. Mouth's condition had become so bad that even breathing felt heavy. Even swallowing his spit was out of the question, but all of this was not entirely unexpected for him. He had already realized from Kim Chun-gu's muscle tension that she was going to do something. But he intentionally did not dodge, block, or retaliate. He wanted the fight to start with that first hit. But what he did not expect was Kim Chun-gu's. That powerful hit completely froze him. That brutal blow was so powerful that Mouth was temporarily out of the fight, and just stood there watching as if his body wasn't working at all. Chungu calmly left the area. On the other hand, the tall girl was standing in a corner. Maybe to help her younger friend. As soon as she saw Chungu, her entire attitude changed. She bowed in embarrassment and started repeatedly apologizing that she had loosened the guard and created the problem. But Chungu did not show any anger. She just said, "Hurry up, let's get out." And they both left from there, before anyone saw them. In the meantime, Mouth was crawling toward the road with great difficulty. His voice was trembling and extremely weak. He barely said, "Don't go, I can still fight." He realized that those people had already left. He immediately called out to Dragon Ling. Dragon Ling quickly provided healing, but I have to chase. Dragon Ling wasn't even there. Then Mu realized that since leaving the arena, he hadn't seen Dragon Ling at all. The scene now shifts. In another corner of the city, Lee's old bully boy sprinted away. He was hiding something suspicious under his shirt. He was sweating profusely, clearly panicking. He wondered how he had gotten stuck in this crazy situation. Everything started a few days ago when Chial told him about a gambling site. He became curious and started playing some online games. At first, his intention was just to earn a little extra money. But everything quickly got out of control. In just 10 minutes, he stole 5 million won from his mother's bank account. At first, he thought it was just a small loss. Whenever he tried to win the money back, he kept placing bigger and bigger bets. He didn't realize that he was heading completely toward ruin. He knew that if his parents found out about all of this, he would either be kicked out of the house or something worse could happen. And honestly, after what he had done, he would even drive everyone away. Overcome by fear and guilt, he took some valuables and ran towards the place where students his age received loans. He hoped they would accept some useful items as collateral. After a few minutes, he finally arrived at that place and threw his shirt and the wrapped belongings onto the table. The man sitting there, clearly irritated, glared at him and said, "What is this, and what do you want?" Gasping for breath, he babbled and began unbuttoning his shirt. And as you guessed, something familiar appeared. It wasn't anyone else but Dragon Ling, whose hands and feet were tied up. And obviously, he couldn't say anything. He immediately took out his phone and showed a photo of a ta, which is a rare lizard species from New Zealand. He brought the phone close to the poor Dragon Ling and began convincing the man that Dragon Ling was actually a mutated 2-star. It means it's very rare and super valuable. The man sitting at the counter looked with slightly suspicious eyes. He wasn't very interested in the boy's story. His gaze shifted to the person sitting silently in the corner, the real boss. The beaten boy kept rambling on, unaware that the man seated behind him was actually the head of the entire setup. But the boss gave a slight nod and the matter was settled. They decided to give a loan to that annoying boy, and that was the end. The boy came out of that place, but there wasn't much happiness on his face. He had only received 1,000,000 won. Nevertheless, he tried to cheer himself up and started thinking that this was the fastest way. It seemed the fastest way to bring back his mom's money. At that moment, a guy wearing a hoodie passed by him without looking his way. It seemed as if that guy was going to the same place. He had just stepped out of that place. The same building, the same staircase. A while later, the hooded man arrived at the same office. He placed Daljin's school ID card on the table as collateral. He asked in a nervous voice if he could obtain as much money as possible for a short-term loan. What? His face clearly showed that he was sweating from fear. The man in the black suit told him to take off the hoodie. It is necessary to verify whether the ID was stolen. He followed the instructions and took off the hoodie. It was now clear that this was not Daljin. It was Reembelin's, only the hair and eye color were different. Was this person a boy or a girl? It was hard to say, but one thing was clear. He was badly frightened and the fear of being caught was written on his face. The counter clerk said nothing. The boss nodded and gave him permission to receive 4,500 euros against that fake pawn. He also reminded him to pay on time. He left there as soon as possible. He looked around nervously, trying to be as quiet as possible out of fear. A few seconds later, when he was still deciding where to go, the mastermind of the plan, Youngjo, appeared before him. Youngjo asked with a curious expression whether the money had been received or not. He was still trembling, but he took out cash from his pocket and showed it. The mission was successful. Both started walking, and Youngjo, clearly satisfied, began explaining that he couldn't even see himself there. Inside Grandma Money Collateral Loans, a mysterious woman in a purple hoodie twirled the Daljin ID card between her fingers. One of his employees came up a little scared and said, "Sir, why did you give a loan to those suspicious students? They won't be able to repay." The boss just smirked and in a very stylish manner, tossed the ID card and stuck it onto the wooden board in front. Then he said, "Don't stress. There are many ways to take out money." The strange thing was that the board on which he had pasted Daljin's ID had the dragon ling attached at its center. Many more ID cards were stuck all around it. The next day at school, a loud scream echoed in the hallway. It was President Kim. She had just found out that the dragon ling had been missing since yesterday. And she was completely shocked. Muck casually mentioned that perhaps the dragon ling had gone to that girl's house. So it didn't make much of a difference to her. But after seeing Kim's reaction, he realized that the matter was something else. President Kim's mind went haywire. She started searching the entire classroom. She thought that perhaps the dragon ling was taking a nap somewhere. But when she found nothing there, she immediately ran to search the rest of the school. "Muck is inside. I ran away because Kim was freaking out so much." She had no idea that the person standing behind her was actually responsible for the disappearance of her beloved dragon ling. Suddenly, the door in another classroom flung open loudly, and Kim rushed inside. She kept shouting the name of the dragon ling repeatedly. Just like before, she began checking every possible corner one by one. Kang was also seated in the same classroom. He didn't know Kim very well, but her distressed voice and frantic actions also caught his attention. Like everyone else, a few minutes later, Muck was sitting at his desk. When the door opened slowly and someone began trying to come in, she was the class president. But this time the teacher was addressing her herself, as if there were a new reason. The teacher softly said to go straight to your seat and not do any more drama. She did that there. She went and sat on the seat right in front of Muck. She was a bit disappointed. She told Muck that she had swept the whole school. But no trace of the dragon ling was found. Meanwhile, Mun was completely chill. She knew that Kim would not get her little dragon there. Then casually Mun said that he had lost the dragon ling not at school, but after the arena. Upon hearing this, Kim became a bit irritated. She said, "You didn't tell me earlier." Mun said again. He pulled out the dragon map, spread it on his desk. Kim's eyes widened. It was the same map that she had drawn herself a few days earlier. And the dragon ling was given so that it could easily find the arena. Mun also explained the reason for showing the map. He placed his finger on the exact spot where he had last seen the dragon ling. At that moment, Kim snatched the map from Mun's hand. She didn't even take the time to think. She ran straight out of the classroom. But as soon as she was stepping out, the teacher noticed and shouted from behind, "Why are you running away from class?" He reached Kim in just a few seconds. And no matter how much Kim pleaded, the teacher didn't let her go. They brought Kim back to the classroom again. He warned that next time he would be strict. Kim reluctantly went back to her seat and sat down, heartbroken that she couldn't go to find the dragon ling. Mun said nothing didn't stop her nor provide comfort, as if she didn't care about that cute creature at all. To be honest, Mun's mind was elsewhere. He was still thinking about the unfinished fight he had started with Gaidari's top 3 members. Every time someone interrupted, everything got spoiled. Now he began to feel that he had to act, but the problem was that his body was tired. Yes, he had overused his muscles, but now his whole body felt like it was screaming for rest. Even so, he found this pain and exhaustion somewhat exciting. He felt as if he was truly alive. But if he wants to return to the ring again, he must recover. He wants to finish the fight quickly. So he needed another healing orb, and first he had to find the Dragon Link. The school day seemed unusually long. But finally the bell rang and the classes ended. As soon as the bell rang, Kim didn't waste any time. She grabbed her aching hand and began running, pulling it forcibly. Upon reaching the stairs, they collided with Kang. Kang recognized Kim and asked, "Why are you in such a rush? What happened?" Just as Kim was about to explain that Dragon Link is missing. Just then Diljun interrupted, saying her wallet wasn't found. Hearing this, Kim momentarily forgot about Dragon Link and turned to ask Kang, "Diljun is your girlfriend?" What? Both Kang and Diljun immediately denied it with disgusted expressions, as if the idea itself was repulsive. Realizing she had ruined the atmosphere, Kim immediately apologized. But then she started crying. She started saying that she urgently needs help to find Dragon Link, which she considers her beloved pet. Kang had seen Dragon Link a few times, but didn't completely understand the whole situation. Mun tried to explain that Dragon Link was once very large, but it has now shrunk. This might help people know what to look for. Mun described Dragon Link in even more detail. But after a while, he noticed that the rest of the people had already gone elsewhere. Nobody was listening to him anymore. He stood there for a while. He felt confused and a bit left out. Then he shrugged his shoulders and thought, this is the time. He decided to focus on his recovery and training. Meanwhile, in the school's bathroom, Youngjo was multitasking. He was handling the task with one hand and playing a game on the phone with the other hand. But this wasn't a simple game. It was the same gambling app where the Dragon Link thief was accessing his parents' savings. Everything was going smoothly when suddenly a loud noise came from the stall door. The atmosphere changed completely, but it wasn't anyone else. It was Yang Jiao himself. Excited, he kicked the door with his head. Because this time he didn't earn money but hit the jackpot. Yang Jiao was so crazy with happiness. After losing everything, this victory felt like a miracle. He started thinking what else he would do with these earnings. He decided he should withdraw the money quickly now. Otherwise, he would do something foolish again. But when he finally went to press the reward button, his smile froze. Something was wrong. He tried again, and this time his doubt turned into fear. His entire body was soaked in sweat. He realized the game was a total scam. He hadn't won anything. Instead, he had already lost everything from the start. Now nothing could be done. He just remained helpless in shock. 6 days later, Yang Jiao goes towards the mouth again. Mun is now behaving a bit wildly again. Instead of searching for the dragon, they stood right in the middle of the path, staring at the teacher with their signature copy smile as if provoking a fight. Meanwhile, President Kim and Diljun had been running a massive search party nonstop for the past 6 days. They scoured every corner around that exact spot, where the Dragon Ling was last seen. Kang also helped as much as he could. But despite all the effort, they didn't find even a single trace of the Dragon Ling. Not even a single shed scale of it. After hours of searching on the 6th day, both girls were completely exhausted. Finally, they found a place to sit where they could take a breath for a while. President Kim was feeling a lot of guilt. She apologized to Diljun for dragging her into all this and for causing her so much trouble. But Diljun just smiled and said it's no big deal. Kim felt both gratitude for Diljun's help and frustration with herself. She was angry at herself for not extending a helping hand sooner. While the Dragon Ling was under her care, it was lost because of her. To repay Diljun for her help, Kim offered to get her a drink, saying, "I'm coming." But Kim didn't know that as soon as she left, a suspicious man approached Diljun from behind, and Diljun didn't realize she was in danger. The ID card in his hand clearly showed who he was, and why he had come there. A few minutes later, Kim came back. She was holding a drink pack in her hand, but as soon as she entered, she felt something strange. Diljun's seat was empty and it couldn't be seen anywhere. Before we move forward, let's clear one thing. We had noticed that Mun was behaving a little strangely in front of the teacher. But it wasn't that he was trying to provoke him or wanted to fight. To be honest, Mu was genuinely impressed by that teacher's perfectly toned body. He hadn't seen such a physique anywhere else. The teacher was completely confused as to why Mu was behaving like that. He didn't know that Mu was just observing his muscles. There was a moment when the teacher completely lost his cool. When Mu touched his chest and said, "You have worked out this part very hard." Right? The teacher didn't like Mu speaking so casually. But when he felt that Mu had genuinely noticed his effort, so he let the conversation go. The real shock hit when Mu suddenly announced that he was joining a training session with the teacher. As if he didn't need permission from anyone. The teacher was completely shocked. He couldn't understand what was going on in Mu's mind. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to another part of the city. Someone was standing holding Diljan's ID card in their hand, obviously. That man was in charge of Grandma's porn shop, and Diljan was standing there perfectly fine. She asked him to return her ID card. The man looked at Diljan with a frightening gaze and said that he had kept the ID card as collateral when she had taken a loan from him. Diljan was completely shocked. She argued that she had never even gone to that shop, let alone taken any money. That's when the shop's boss stepped forward and slammed his fist on the table in anger to draw everyone's attention to him. He asked in a sharp tone why Diljan was acting this way, as if she didn't remember anything at all. The man in the black suit, who was his employee, also nodded in agreement with the boss. He said that Diljan herself had given the card. Diljan now realized that arguing with them was of no use. She only asked how much she would have to pay to reclaim the card. The man informed her that the total was 5,500 varn. Of that amount, only 500 varn was interest. Diljan tried to be cool. She said, "No problem, I will pay it off soon." She hoped that maybe the card would be returned now because of this excuse. But obviously it wasn't that easy. That scary-looking man opens a drawer, and he throws her ID card into it and says, "You have 1 week, otherwise we will find you ourselves." Diljan began to leave from there. But as she was leaving, he demanded that her ID card not be misplaced. Then she slammed the door loudly and stepped outside. The boss's voice annoyed the employee, and he became angry. Seeing the expression, the boss thought the employee was angry with him. When the boss raised the issue, the employee panicked and immediately began to clarify. He apologized before the situation escalated, and he said it won't happen next time. After that, the day passed without any special event. Next night, the same employee locked the office, and while leaving, he casually threw it into a flower pot. He mutters to himself, "Why do I have to listen to that child's words?" He cannot even go to the bathroom alone. How did he know that Diljan was already hidden on the floor above? She was just waiting for this moment. As soon as he left, Diljan quietly moved towards the office. His plan was clear: take the ID card and leave. At first, he thought the door would be locked, but the key shining inside the flower pot came into view. She quickly lifted it and silently opened the lock. But she didn't anticipate that right behind her, someone else had also quietly entered the building. Diljan did not waste time. She went straight to the desk and opened the drawer. It didn't take her much time to find her ID card. As soon as she got the card in hand, her joy knew no bounds. She thought she should leave now before anyone comes. But as soon as she passed by a commode, a loud sound came from inside it. Naturally, Diljan's attention shifted to that sound. The fear was there, but curiosity outweighed it. She thought for just a second, "I'll see what's inside." Carefully, she opened the toilet lid. Inside, something was locked in a very dark cage. Thus, nothing was clearly visible. But the creature began to move slowly. First, Diljan saw a pair of sparkling eyes. Then its whole face came into view. And yes, it was none other than Dragon Ling, who was shouting loudly. "Take me out," he cried, not even realizing that Diljan was the one opening the door. Diljan had never before seen a dragon face to face. When he saw a small winged, horned lizard shouting, his surprise grew. Terrified, half of his strength seemed to drain away. He instinctively took a few steps back. She was completely freaked out. The tension rose even further when he realized he had collided with something big and a bit soft. When she turned around and looked, her feet froze right there. Right behind her was Yangcho standing. Diljan didn't recognize him. But in that moment, seeing him, she forgot the dragon link. Yangcho was as shocked as Diljan. But as soon as he saw that Diljan was about to scream, he reacted. It could attract someone's attention. He immediately covered her mouth with his hand and softly said, "SHH, stay quiet. Otherwise, everyone will find out that I'm here." It took only a few seconds for Yangcho to recognize Diljan. It was the same girl whose ID card she had pawned for money a few days earlier. She realized that Diljan had just come to collect her card. She also explained that she had come only to get her card. He suggested that they both quietly do their work and leave quickly. Diljan nodded in agreement. Now she was feeling a bit better. She picked up her ID card and also rescued the Dragon Link. She saved the Dragon Link only because she remembered the poster that Kim had made when the Dragon Link went missing. When Diljun was leaving the building, she had only one thought. These people are so pathetic. It seemed they had planned to steal people's ID cards and keep someone's belongings tied up. She didn't know what had happened in the office. She didn't even know that all her movements had been recorded on the security camera. The next morning, when Diljun was going to school, she saw Kim from afar and quickly ran towards her. She kept calling her name repeatedly until Kim noticed. Kim was completely shocked to see Diljun. She had not expected Diljun to return so calmly, having been missing since yesterday. Kim was just about to say something to Diljun about how worried she had been about her sudden disappearance. But Diljun just smiled and didn't explain anything at all. Instead, she apologized and said she had a surprise for Kim. She tried to break his resolve a little. She unzipped her bag and two tiny paws emerged, followed by the whole dragon link, which had almost suffocated inside the bag due to lack of oxygen. As soon as Kim saw the dragon link, she couldn't stop herself. She ran, lifted it into her lap, and began hugging it tightly. Kim kept loving it, kept saying how much she missed it, but the dragon link suddenly began to emit a familiar scent, and its attention was no longer on Kim. It suddenly slipped from its mouth and ran toward the source of the scent. Mun was just walking casually, when suddenly Dragon Ling grabbed Mun's mango. Mun was unaware that his hand was already injured. Reflexively, Mun flailed his hand so hard that poor Dragon Ling fell to the ground. Then Mun realized that it was Dragon Ling. But instead of apologizing or being happy, Mun just said, "Be careful. My whole body is broken from training." Seeing this, Kim ran over and scolded Mun, asking how he could behave like that with Dragon Ling, especially since he had just met him. But as always, it happens. It didn't affect his mood. It wasn't due to his assistant's condition nor Kim's complaint. On the other hand, the case in Grandma's money collateral loan had become quite intense. The staff there had already found out that 2 ID cards and a dragon link were missing. When they checked the security cameras, they clearly saw how Diljun quietly went inside. She lifted the dragon link, and then Youngjo arrived, took his access card, and left. The man in the black suit turned to his boss and casually asked, "Now what should we do?" Upon hearing this, the boss's anger rose to the 7th heaven. He was about to give his employee a strong lesson, but he stopped himself at the last second. Even so, the thought that 2 high school kids could break into his office and challenge his authority made him uneasy. He couldn't bear it. A few hours later, there was a gym class at school, and the kids were playing football outside. An excited kid, as soon as he took the shot, had no idea that a face was right in front of him. The shocking thing was that the face didn't even flinch. The ball hit his face directly, and he just stood there. Someone might think that he doesn't even know the rules of football. And yes, this is also correct. But the real reason was that the face never backs away from any kind of primitive attack. Whether it's football or not, the face never backs away from any kind of primitive attack. The ball hit his face and fell down, and as soon as his face was clearly visible, Mouth started running toward the bold boy who had thrown the ball. The boy couldn't understand why Mouth hadn't backed down or why he was now running toward him. Before he could understand anything, Mouth delivered a powerful punch to his stomach. He was caught completely off guard. The boy fell down and Mouth stood over him. The other students realized that if they didn't stop him now, perhaps Mouth would put them in bad shape too. So all the students ran to stop him, and the scene was complete. So much so that the teacher standing on the other side finally realized something was wrong. But Mouth didn't care at all. He kept fighting with whoever came his way. It all seemed like part of the gym class to us. Over there, a little ways away, Kim and Dragling had found a peaceful corner. Kim didn't care about the Mouth fight at all. She handed Dragling her old phone over. She said, "If you ever need it, text or call. You don't have a phone, not even one, here, take this."